subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Sophisticated Conqueror's Haki. It directly shocked everyone on the Dawn. In the past 7 days, except for Kixie's strength and Conqueror's Haki's increasing proficiency. EC also got a few surprises. Among the pirates killed by Kixie, there are several who possess the power of devil fruit. In response, EC extracted all these devil fruits without hesitation. After that, EC discovered that the devil fruits he obtained were all common bird devil fruits. War eagle fruit, snake eagle fruit, black eagle fruit, mountain eagle fruit. The 4 devil fruits are all bird devil fruits. Together with the 6 existing bird devil fruits, the idea of a flying squad suddenly appeared in EC's heart. After all, in the pirate world, apart from the fluttering fruit, there is basically no other absolute air dominance. Of course, there are other types of air dominance. The most simple and clear is the beast pirates. However, now that there are 320+ bird devil fruits, the air dominance is still there. In addition to the fluttering fruit eaten by Kixie, it can basically be said that EC occupies a large part of the air dominance in the pirate world. His Royal Highness has entered the outer periphery of the Devil's Triangle Sea. When the Dawn sailed into a sea with a little black fog, Monet immediately came to EC's side to report. In response, EC lightly nodded his head. Just when EC was about to speak, suddenly, EC's movements paused slightly. Your Highness? Monet, who was always paying attention to EC, immediately discovered EC's strange state. Hearing this, EC waved his hand and said, I found a very interesting pirate ship. At this moment, EC's observation Haki is shrouded in a pirate ship near the depths of the Devil's Triangle. Under the perception of observation Haki, EC found that there were not many people on this pirate ship. There were only 10 people in total, but EC found a strong kendo aura on everyone. 10 swordsmen. TSK, TSK, TSK. I didn't expect to encounter such a pirate, bah. While talking, EC didn't stop the Dawn's trajectory. Under EC's perception, as long as the Dawn continues to sail forward, it will soon be able to meet the pirate ship where the 10 swordsmen are. This time, EC didn't want to destroy the pirate ship, because EC found that these 10 people did not have that evil, bloody smell. Some only had the pure and incomparable kendo aura. Therefore, EC decided to try it out this time to see if he could subdue these 10 swordsman pirates. Speaking of which, all of this may be fate arranged by God. I now have exactly 10 bird devil fruits, and I just want to form a flying team. I didn't expect to meet 10 swordsmen. Isn't this the best person to send to the door? The swordsman has already been able to cut out flying slashes, and if it is paired with a flying devil fruit, its mobility will be greatly improved. Just as the Dawn sailed toward the depths of the Devil's Triangle. In the depths of the Devil's Triangle waters and the surrounding waters, a pirate ship is slowly sailing towards the depths. Saphiros, are you sure the Moria pirates are really here? On the deck of this pirate ship, 10 young male swordsmen were talking. Guy Ursus, I'm pretty sure the Moria pirates have entered here. It was a black-haired male swordsman who spoke, and this person was Sephiroth. Hearing this, Guy Elses with long cyan hair pondered for a while before speaking again. So, the Moria pirates should have entered the deepest part of this sea. Then you said, do you want to go in? You must have heard of this sea area. 35, the deep fog can make the pointer go out of order, thus disorienting the person. After entering, I was afraid that we would not be able to find a way out. Hearing Guy's words, the rest of the people on the boat started to think. Speaking of which, it is also a kind of fate that everyone on this ship can gather here. The 10 people on board were all from the remote islands of the Grand Line. However, by chance, these 10 people all embarked on the road of kendo. Moreover, 10 people are willing to go to sea in order to improve their kendo. In the end, 10 people meet on a deserted island, compete with each other, and know that they have the same experience. 10 swordsmen from different places became brothers under the witness of the sea and became a member of the same ship. The ones who just spoke were Guy Ulses with long blue hair, and Sephiroth with black hair. Blue-haired guy Ulysses is good at wind-based swordsmanship, and black-haired Sephiroth is good at dark-based swordsmanship. In addition, the other 8 people are Arthas, with long white hair, is good at ice swordsmanship. Because he is calm, he is the eldest brother among 10 people. Then there is the blonde Griffith, who is good at gold swordsmanship. The red-haired Sargeras is good at fire swordsmanship. The blue-haired Nazareth is good at water swordsmanship. The yellow-haired Odysseus is good at earth swordsmanship. And the purple-haired Thanatos is good at thunder swordsmanship. The green-haired Erebos is good at wooden swordsmanship. And Ignis, who is also white-haired but is good at light swordsmanship. 10 people each embarked on a path of elemental kendo. Meet and worship on a deserted island, and form the swordsman pirates to go out to sea. Its purpose is to beat the world's kendo masters and pursue the ultimate in kendo. The reason why he appeared in the Devil's Triangle this time is because of a piece of news about Awakeni's national treasure, Kushui. Therefore, after the 10 people discussed it, they decided to stop the Moria pirates here. However, after they arrived, there was no trace of the Moria pirates at all. When they sailed to the boundary between the depths of the Devil's Triangle waters and the periphery, they stopped and began to discuss whether to enter the depths of the Devil's Triangle. At this time, just when everyone else was struggling to enter the depths of the Devil's Triangle Sea, suddenly, Arthas, who had always been calm all along, froze instantly. Alert! There are boats approaching us again. Hearing this, the other 9 instantly pulled out the weapons around their waists and became vigilant. Everyone admires the calm Alsace. After hearing Arthas' words now, the other 9 people instantly became vigilant. The swords around their waists were pulled out one after another, and everyone began to alert in different directions. 125, bet and bet, wala la la, as the sound of the waves sounded. Everyone in the swordsman pirates was alert to the direction of the sound of the waves. In a short time, the huge and luxurious dawn was printed into the eyes of Alsace and others. What a big boat! Be careful, don't be careless. I feel 2 powerful swordsmanship auras. Me too. Such a pure swordsmanship. How we finally met a strong swordsman. As the dawn got closer and closer, Alsace and others on the deck of the pirate ship finally saw the figure on the dawn clearly. The eyes of 10 people completely ignored Monet, Dylan, Aldo, and others. They stared at the figures of EC and Kixie at the bow. Especially Kixie, because EC didn't hold a sword. On the other hand, Kixie held the noble phantasm, the 7-star sword. Not bad, you can still show such a strong fighting spirit. Above the bow of the dawn, EC looked at the 10 people on the pirate ship, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Do 10 different elemental kendos come from the same dojo? Even though I know that my strength is weak in front of the 2 of us, I still have such a firm fighting spirit. 5. I really like them more and more. Hearing this, Dylan and the others on the side all look surprised. Unexpectedly, the people on the pirate ship on the opposite side would be appreciated by His Highness EC. You must know that after going out to sea for so long, His Highness EC chose to destroy the pirate ships and pirate groups he encountered and never chose to conquer them. However, now it has the meaning of conquering, so Dylan and others will be so surprised. Afterwards, everyone silently felt and looked at Alsace and the others. After a brief feeling and scrutiny, everyone quickly understood why EC chose to subdue these people. Because in the body of Arthas and others, everyone did not feel the sinful aura of those pirates they had met before. In them, there is only the fanatical fighting spirit and pure kendo aura. Moreover, Dylan and the others soon discovered that these people were all swordsmen. Its strength is basically at the level of Rear Admiral. When the 2 ships approached, Akatsuki controlled the dawn and stopped not far from the pirate ship. At this moment, EC stood on the bow of the boat, looking at Alsace and the others not far away. A light flashed in his eyes. I hadn't discovered it before, but at such a close distance now, EC discovered that these people were all so young. All of them are basically only about 20 years old. With such strength at such a young age, it can be seen that the talents of these 10 people are still very powerful. Introduce myself. My name is EC, from the Kingdom of Helios. Hearing this, Arthas and the others suddenly shrank their pupils. They knew about EC killing the legendary pirate Golden Lion. Moreover, they also know how powerful EC is and his status as the Prince of the Kingdom. After all, in that newspaper, EC was described in great detail. Taking a sigh of relief, Arthas took the lead and said, "I have seen your Highness EC. I've heard for a long time that His Highness EC is ruthless towards pirates. I don't know why he said so much to us." After Alsace spoke, the rest were extremely quiet and did not speak. All along, because of Alsace's calm character, Alsace communicated with the outside world. This time, there were no exceptions. Listening to Arthas' question, EC smiled and answered, "Because I am very interested in you, and I want you to belong to me." Without hiding his purpose in the slightest, EC stated his purpose directly and dignifiedly. For a while, whether it was Dylan and the others or Alsace and the others, they were slightly taken aback. Arthas was silent for a while before slowly raising his head. "I didn't expect that His Highness EC would have such a plan. The purpose of our going to sea is to challenge the strong swordsmen of all walks of life on the sea. For this reason, even if I die on the way to the challenge, I will not hesitate." Hearing this, EC did chuckle. "Wouldn't it be very unwilling to die like this? 95. Are you sure you will be willing to die on the road before you reach the end of the kendo? 4 flowers 0. I admire the fighting spirit that pervades your body. So, do you want to make a bet?" Hearing EC's words, Arthas asked with some doubts, "I don't know what your Highness wants to bet on." EC pointed to the swords in their hands and said, "Betting on your future. From your body, I see the arrogance that you will not be surrendered by force. However, since you want to challenge the strong swordsman, I think I should be qualified to challenge you." Hearing this, Guy Elzaston on the side said, However, before Guy Ulces could finish speaking, EC interrupted with a light wave of his hand. "There's nothing wrong. I haven't finished my words yet. I know what you mean. 55, but this time it turned out to be a bet. Of course, it is relatively fair. This time, we only use pure swordsmanship as a bet. What do you think? The bet is simple. If you win, I will let you go. If you lose, then you'll be loyal to me from now on." Hearing this, Arthas stretched out his hand to stop the others who wanted to speak. "It's fair. Above this sea, the strong make the rules. 35, we won. It's good to be able to save a life, and I don't expect too much. So, I personally agree and am willing to join the bet. 39. When Arthas's words fell, EC's eyes were also on other people. Suddenly, Sephiroth and the others looked at each other and said in unison, "We would too." Hearing the words of the 10 people across from him, EC's mouth twitched slightly. The figure flashed and appeared on the pirate ship where Arthas and others were. Seeing this scene, the pupils of Arthas and the others shrank slightly. "Then, let's go together. I don't know when. I've already grasped Kixie's 7-star sword." Standing in the middle of Arthas and the others, EC pointed the tip of his sword to the ground and put one hand behind him. "Please advise." In unison, Alsace and the others attacked EC from different directions. 126 defeated all 10 swordsmen with one sword and surrendered the swordsman pirates front, back, left, and right. 10 people attacked EC's body with a critical strike. All used pure swordsmanship. In response, EC's eyes narrowed slightly, and then the 7-star sword drew a semicircle towards the right and directly blocked the attacks of the few people on the right. Immediately after stepping on the footsteps, he rushed out of the encirclement of 10 people in an instant. Turn around, a ray of light flashes in the eyes. Immediately afterwards, the powerful momentum condensed and did not disperse, and quickly poured into the 7-star sword. Afterwards, the 7-star sword in his hand came straight out of his hand. All actions are done in one go. The 7-star sword is buzzing. 10 times in a row. When EC grabbed the hilt of the 7-star sword again, everyone on the pirate ship fell into an extremely quiet state. Puff, 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 puff. A second later, with Alsace at the head, a shallow wound appeared on the throats of 10 people. Fresh 3-2 blood slowly emerges from the wound. This kind of swordsmanship Is this still pure swordsmanship? Has your highness's swordsmanship reached its peak? Unexpectedly, it was possible to let the sword fly without any other force at all. On the dawn, everyone was shocked, even on the same ship as EC. However, the swordsmanship performed by EC today is still unheard of and unseen. Therefore, at this moment, not only Arthas and the others, but also everyone on the dawn was shocked. Dare to ask your highness, what kind of swordsmanship is this? On the pirate ship, Arthas and others woke up from shock and even shock. He wiped the bloodline flowing from the wound on his throat again and again, and carefully asked EC. In this regard, EC did not hide anything. It's not swordsmanship. What? How could this technique of flying swords not be swordsmanship? Let us fail in an instant. How could it not be swordsmanship? 99 after hearing EC's words, everyone was horrified. It's not really swordsmanship. Shaking his head again, EC answered affirmatively. When one can achieve, when the mind and the will, the mind and the key and the potential and the force are combined. 35. Your own sword power, sword intent, sword key, and sword heart can be 4 in 1 to achieve a flawless state. At that moment, the sword is an extension of your body, and within a certain range, you can freely control everything about the sword. 55. Hearing that, although everyone is still a little vague, the result is already obvious. Therefore, Alsace, Sephiroth, Guy Elsa's Griffith, and 10 other people looked at each other. Then they all bowed down to EC's position. Thank you, Your Highness, for your advice. If Your Highness doesn't give up, please ask Your Highness to let me follow you around. Please, Your Highness, let me become His Highness's swordsman. Looking at the 10 swordsmen who were kneeling on the ground in front of him, EC's eyes couldn't help showing a happy look. It's not in vain to spend some effort, but the result is still very gratifying. As long as he observes for a few days, these 10 swordsmen will be transformed into noble phantasms of life. When that happens, he will also have 10 more absolutely loyal swordsmen. At that time, give them a devil fruit. It won't take long for him to have 10 more Vice Admiral level combat power. Vice Admiral level combat power is the mainstay of any faction. On the other hand, he was able to add 10 more at once. Get up from now on. The 10 of you will be the swordsmen by my side, EC said as he stretched out his hand to signal them to get up. Jianhao, it's definitely not your end. With my guidance, I believe that you will definitely be able to reach the level of a great swordsman or even a great swordsman. 95. Listening to EC's words, Arthas and the others couldn't help showing a frenzy in their eyes. After seeing EC's swordsmanship, they had no doubts about what EC said. It was just pure swordsmanship just now, but pure swordsmanship alone made him and others have no power to fight back. It can be seen from this that EC has traveled a long, long distance in the Kendo journey. It just so happened that the 10 other people, including Alsace, were all swordsmen who were in love with Kendo. After seeing and experiencing EC's swordsmanship, they have sincere admiration. A person so young has already traveled such a long distance on the road of Kendo. They even now have reason to believe that EC's Kendo is about to break through the great swordsman and reach another new level. Soon, Alsace and the others packed up their things. Afterwards, EC took them off the pirate ship and came to the Dawn. From now on, they will be my swordsmen. Back on the deck of the Dawn, EC gave a brief introduction directly to the crowd. Afterwards, EC looked at Dylan's location. Dylan, take them to get acquainted. Hearing EC's order, Dylan bowed and saluted. Okay, Your Highness. Immediately afterwards, Dylan came to Alsace and the others. With a slight smile, Dylan said as he led them towards the rear. Hello, everyone. My name is Dylan. Next, I will show you guys to get acquainted. Come with me. Go and determine your residence first. Hearing this, Arthas and the others looked at each other and then followed behind Dylan. On the deck, the others left one after another when they saw that the matter was over. In place, only EC, Kixi, Monet, and Robin were left, and Reiju and Sugar were both pulled by Shao to play. It was getting late, and Dawn had no plans to continue sailing. Therefore, tonight is to spend the night on this sea area. Your Highness, Don't you transform them into noble phantasms of life? Watching EC casually lying on the chair beside him, enjoying Monet's massage, Robin couldn't help asking curiously. In response, EC spoke softly. No hurry, although it's okay now, but I still need to observe it for a few more days. After all, if they are brought to the king's treasure as soon as they are subdued, they themselves will be thinking wildly. It's better to let them rest for a few days and wait for them to adjust their mentality first. 35. Also, with Dylan and the others, Alsace and the others will understand these days. Hearing this, Robin also thought about 1.0 and smiled softly. Monet, on the other hand, quietly massaged EC's shoulders. As for Kixie, after taking the 7-star sword from EC, it was a sword that smashed the pirate ship and then sat aside and entered the kendo perception. Kixie doesn't have many hobbies, except for EC. The rest is to improve kendo. Of course, I occasionally chat and have fun with Monet and Robin. As the past few days passed, Kixie's own feelings became more and more rich. I believe that it won't be long before Kixie's own feelings are not much different from those of normal people. After all, Kixie is still a sword spirit after all, not a real human being. So my feelings still need to be gradually improved. Just like Akatsuki, but Akatsuki is a boat spirit and can feel all the emotional changes in her clothes. Therefore, his own emotional changes have also undergone metamorphosis in a short period of time. In this respect, Kixie cannot compare. 127. Thriller Bark. Brook, who lost his shadow 7 days later. Dawn sailed in the depths of the Devil's Triangle. After 7 days, Alsace and others have also completely integrated into Dawn. After being transformed into noble phantasm by EC, Arthas and others became EC's most loyal swordsmen. EC not only gave each of them two color Haki training manual noble phantasms, but also distributed the 10 bird fruits to them. That is, from that moment on, Arthas and the others became a special team, and the rest of the people on the ship are going to be called swordsman guards or swordsman team. Now, the Fei Tian Jianhao team is temporarily led by Qi Shi. And for the real leader of the Flying Swordsman Squad, EC already has a goal. In the Devil's Triangle Sea, there are those with the ability of the yellow spring fruit. Brook, the funny, lascivious, music-loving guy in the original book, is EC's target. Yellow spring fruit. A person with the ability of the fruit can be resurrected once after death and control the ability related to the soul. It has complete suppression power to the 22 like homies created by the soul fruit, and when attacking, it carries the cold air from the yellow spring, which will cause frostbite to the enemy. Yellow spring fruit can be said to be the nemesis of soul fruit. Not only that, in the original, put aside those abnormal and unorthodox performances of Brook. When he was serious, his swordsmanship was still very good. Brook has served as the captain of the guard of certain kingdom and also served as the acting captain, so he has a considerable degree of strength. He is good at swordsmanship. His crutch is actually a two-edged sword, and he is a very powerful swordsman or swordsman with experience, strength, technology, and ability. How could EC let this talent go? Arthas and the others were all obsessed with swordsmanship before, and even going to sea was to challenge the strong swordsman. Therefore, 10 of them have no leadership ability. Therefore, even if a team is formed, without a leader, they can only find a captain for them. And EC's favorite target is Brook in the Devil's Triangle. On the Dawn, at this time, as more and more people joined, it became more and more lively to wear it. And Dawn, under Zhao's control, is also sailing fast in the Devil's Triangle Sea, passing through the fog after another. Finally, a huge island broke into the eyes of everyone. What a big island! I didn't expect that there would be such an island within the Devil's Triangle. No, did you notice? Why do I feel like this island is moving slowly? Is it like this? Why can't I see it? I lowered my head and kept looking at the junction of the sea and the island. Did you notice it? Really? Look, you can see that the island is rising and falling, listening to the chatter of the people on the boat. EC's eyes were also set on the island in front of him. However, when he saw this island, EC knew that he had found the base camp of the Moria pirates. This isn't an island. It's a giant ship, the Thriller Bark. The reason why everyone thinks it is an island is because the fog concentration here is too high. All the flags planted by the giant ship were hidden. With the spread of observation Haki, EC's observation Haki soon covered the entire Thriller Bark in front of him. At this moment, as if observation Haki sensed something interesting, the corners of EC's mouth twitched slightly. Is it so lucky? You have encountered all the things you want to meet. Have you lost your shadow at this time? Perceived by EC's observation Haki, a skeleton with an exploding head is sneaking towards the center of the Thriller Bark. He was wearing a tattered musician's attire and held a slender purple cane in his hand. This skeleton is the Brook in the original book. However, what EC didn't expect was that Brook's shadow was cut off by Moria so early. This direction is that Ryoma's corpse. Observation Haki has been aware of Brook's whereabouts. Soon, EC found Brook fighting a dead body. Leaning on the reclining chair, EC couldn't help but whisper a few words in his heart. Unfortunately, there is no resurrection-type cheat in the novels of the previous life. Otherwise, if you revive Ryoma, you'll be able to add another Admiral-level combat power to your subordinates. With a slight sigh, EC sensed the situation of Thriller Bark again and took observation Haki back. On the side, Monet and Robin, who were talking and laughing, asked in a low voice curiously after hearing EC's sigh. "Your Highness, what's wrong?" Hearing this, EC smiled and shook his head. "Nothing, but we're about to talk about the Thriller Bark of the Moria Pirates. 5. Notify them and let them all be ready to log in." Hearing EC's words, Robin thoughtfully looked at the growing island ahead. His Royal Highness means that island is actually a ship. No wonder it can move slowly on the sea with the slide ups and downs of the sea. It turned out to be a ship. After Monet heard Robin's words, he froze for a moment. "Hey, is the one in front a boat? Such a big ship is completely an island." After a little sigh, 320 Monet started to go down to inform. Soon, everyone else on the Dawn was hearing about the Thriller Bark from Monet. For a while, exclamations and exclamations continued one after another. Sure enough, the world is so big, it really is full of wonders. As dawn approaches the Thriller Bark, soon, everyone discovered the huge pirate flag. As the dawn approached, the fog gradually could not block everyone's sight. Moreover, except for the swordsman squad who had just joined and the untrained maids on board, everyone else has observation Haki. Even those sailors and helmsmen. After all, sailors, helmsmen, etc. are all elites brought out from the Royal Army. Therefore, they also practiced two-color Haki early. When the Dawn had sailed to the vicinity, everyone realized that they were only in the outer area of Thriller Bark. In this regard, Xiao directly controlled the Dawn to fly and flew directly into the inner bay of the Thriller Bark. "Xiao, don't stop, just fly straight ahead." Seeing that Xiao wanted to land, EC gave a direct command. In response, Xiao nodded and controlled Dawn to fly away in the direction pointed by EC. 128, Black Knife, Autumn Water. Lobbying Brook, Dawn flew all the way, and under the command of EC, it flew towards a place with a large number of zombies. There, a zombie in a tattered kimono is fighting a skeleton with an exploding head. The swords and swords on both sides kept flickering, and there were densely packed zombies all around them. On the deck of the Dawn, everyone looked at the strange battle below and couldn't help but be extremely surprised. A zombie and a skeleton. Is this a sword fight? Very good swordsmanship. I didn't expect two aliens to have such strength. Kane's sword? A rare weapon. Huh, that knife. Wait, that knife. That's... Hey, Daokiyu Shui. Alsace, look, is it true? That's right, that's true. It's indeed Awakeni's national treasure. Black Sword Autumn Water. 35, hey. Why did Awakeni's national treasure fall into the hands of zombie? This, I don't know. We came here before for this knife. As for the specific reasons, we don't know. TSK, Dylan. It seems that this is also the purpose of His Highness's visit here this time. Well, it should be. On the deck, everyone looked at the battle below and talked nonstop. At this time, EC did let Xiao control the Dawn to start landing. As dawn continued to descend, Finally, when dawn was 5 meters above the ground, it stopped at a low altitude. At the same time, with the landing of the behemoth Dawn, it also instantly attracted the two people who were fighting. Clang! After another blade slash, Brook turned over and directly away from the Ryoma zombie. I didn't expect that there would be unexpected visitors. Standing on a big rock, Brook said with a smile while looking at Dawn, which was 5 meters above the ground. Indeed, I didn't expect that other people would come. Hearing this, Ryoma zombie on the side was silent for a while before answering. Ryoma zombie is formed by Moria cutting Brook's shadow and stuffing it into the corpse. Therefore, even if Ryoma zombie has recovered a little memory, it will still receive a little influence from Brook's shadow. There will be some changes in character and habits, and will be slightly closer to Brook's character. Tread ta-ta-tau. With the sound of footsteps on the ground, both Brook and Ryoma zombie raise their heads. There are many strong people. 35 look at the figures of EC, Kixi, Dylan, Monet, Oro, Robin, Alsace, and others. Whether it's Brook or Ryoma zombie, their hearts are tight at this moment. Unexpectedly, there are so many strong men in this boat. That powerful aura made a skeleton and a zombie tremble constantly. There's so many beauties. However, Brook's face soon revealed the dark color of 2 red hearts. Can you? Before Brook's words could fall, Kixi's body suddenly burst out with Conqueror's Haki, who had been promoted to the intermediate level. Ho 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 ho. Under the cover of Kixi Conqueror's Haki, Brook's words were interrupted on the spot. A wave of coercive momentum made Brook himself slowly bend his knees. Papa, Conqueror's Haki. His own bones were constantly vibrating, and a screeching sound came from Brook's body, forcibly resisting Kixi's Conqueror's Haki suppression. Brook couldn't help shivering when he spoke. Swish at the same time, the 10 members of the Jinhao team flew up one after another. In just an instant, the 10 swordsman squad surrounded Brook and Ryoma zombies. You'd better not say anything disgusting. On the dawn, Kixi flew lightly in front of Brook. As Kixi approached, Brook only felt that the Conqueror's Haki on his body became more dignified. After saying a word to Brook, Kixi turned his attention to the Ryoma zombie beside him. Black knife, autumn water. Clang. With a sound like the sound of a sword being drawn, I saw that the 7-star sword in Kixi's hand instantly slid across the body of Lama zombie. In Brook's shocked eyes, Lama zombie's body began to slowly appear one after another sword marks. The sound of clicking is incessant. In the end, countless sword marks erupted, and the entire body of the Ryoma zombie was turned into powder. The black sword autumn water, after no one was holding the sword, fell to the ground without any accident. At this time, with the death of Ryoma zombie, a black shadow appeared from the place where Ryoma zombie died. The shadow turned into a shadow on the ground, and after a short pause, the shadow melted straight into Brook's body. Under the gaze of Kixi and the 10 members of the Jinhao team, Brook, who had no shadow before, began to show a black shadow behind him from this moment. My shadow, the shadow is back. Yohi, although it was still suppressed by Kixi's Conqueror's Haki, the joy of shadow's return made Brook happy. Zazizi at this time, an arc sounded. A bolt of lightning suddenly landed in front of Brook, and EC's figure appeared in Brook's eyes. Looking at the explosive head Brook, who was half kneeling on the ground and suppressed by Kixi's Conqueror's Haki, EC said with a slight smile. Brook from West Blue, originally the captain of the West Blue Sound Kingdom, and later joined the Rumba Pirates. Good at swordsmanship and music, and a person with the ability of Huang Quan fruit. Listening to EC's words, Brook's skeleton face showed a look of fear. What do you know about me? Who are you? Hearing this, EC said with a smile. I forgot to introduce myself. Let me introduce myself briefly. My name is EC from the Kingdom of Helios. 35. As for why I know about you, it can only be said to be a coincidence. 35. It's just that I didn't expect you to live here alone. Well, for decades after being resurrected. Can resist loneliness without being crazy. What a powerful person. While speaking, he waved his hand at Kixi again. Seeing this, Kixi slowly dispersed her Conqueror's Haki. and Brook was finally able to stand up. Just pressed by Kixie's Conqueror's Haki, he resisted from bending his knees to kneeling on one knee. After standing up now, Brook couldn't help taking a few breaths. However, after hearing EC's words, Brook quickly readjusted his mentality. I didn't expect to meet a prince here. Also, the existence that killed the legendary great pirate golden lion Shiki. Although he is in the Devil's Triangle Sea, this does not mean that there is no newspaper support here. Whether it is from an alien shipwreck or an occasional news bird passing by, the presence of a newspaper can be obtained. Therefore, it is not surprising that Brook knows the identity and affairs of EC. 129. The special ability of subduing Brook. Cushy, then, I'll be blunt about my purpose. Seeing Brook regain his previous appearance, EC said with a slight smile. Would you like to be my subordinate? I must be tired of living here so much. Don't you want to meet Laboon? That island whale Laboon who made a promise with you. Hearing this, Brook's body suddenly froze slightly. Laboon. Hearing this familiar name, Brook's figure was shocked. This name from a long time ago brought Brook's memory back to a previous moment. That's right, the island whale that has been hitting the red soil continent at twin points. Listening to Brook's murmur, EC nodded. I heard it's to find you, so it wants to hit the red soil continent and go to West Blue. After all, your agreement at that time was to circle the Grand Line and return to the starting point of West Blue. After Brook heard EC's words, his body shook violently. At this moment, the entire body bones of the entire skeleton kept making a clicking sound. It hit the red soil continent. It actually hit the red soil continent. No, you can't do it like this. Laboon will die. The sound of panic kept ringing. And at this moment, Brook just wanted to hurry up to reach the twin points and see the Laboon who had made a promise with him. Slap, a hand slapped on the shoulder of Blue's 320G bone. Only to hear EC's voice rang out slowly. If you want to meet Laboon, your current strength is not enough after all. Even though this is the first half of the Grand Line, there's still many strong players. 35. Also, you look like a skeleton. I believe many people will be very interested. 35. How about, do you want to join my subordinates and become my subordinates? With my shelter, it is still possible to protect you from the Grand Line to Twin Points. And what you have to pay is nothing but loyalty. Now, how do you feel? 35. Brook's body shuddered violently, not realizing when EC came to him. After thinking for a while, Brook quickly made up his mind. If you don't dislike it, Brook is willing to work for you. Finally, Brook slowly knelt down in front of EC. He bowed his head and bowed to EC. Don't look at Brook's 10 lewd skeletons laughing in the original book. However, that was only due to the combination of decades of loneliness and the atmosphere of the Straw Hats. And this time, after seeing EC's strength and power, Brook has recovered from his previous state. After all, he was also the head of the kingdom's bodyguard, so Brook himself was very clear about how to get along with the prince. Plus what EC said about Laboon, and was willing to provide shelter for himself. Therefore, today's Brook also began to constantly restrain his character. After making up his mind to surrender, Brook completely regained his original temperament. Of course, over the years, his character must have changed. However, Brook himself also knew that in a kingdom, what should be said and what should not be said. At this time, EC didn't know what Brook was thinking. After hearing that Brook was willing to surrender, he nodded slightly happily. I accept your allegiance. Then let me see your resolve now. 95. As soon as he finished speaking, a golden ripple appeared in front of EC's left. The golden ripples began to turn, and finally completely turned into a golden Uzumaki. Looking at the golden Uzumaki in front of him, Brook didn't hesitate, stood up and walked straight in. At the same time, Kyu Shui, the black knife that fell to the ground, was absorbed into his hand by EC. Immediately afterwards, a golden light flew out from the Uzumaki and merged directly with the autumn water. At this time, within the treasure of the Kaba King, the two noble phantasm embryos have also begun to fuse with Brook's skeleton body and the yellow spring fruit. Soon, Kushui took the lead in completely transforming the noble phantasm. Under everyone's eyes, Kushui floated in front of EC. The whole knife was completely turned into a golden color. Noble Phantasm, Autumn Water, type. Active Noble Phantasm, type. Inherent Noble Phantasm, Liberation. Dragon Slaying Sword Art, Dragon Slaying Sword Intent. Causes 10 times the true damage to dragon creatures when Kushui turned into a Noble Phantasm. EC couldn't help but check Kushui's attributes. Then, he saw the special ability of Kushui. Dragon Slaying Swordsmanship is well understood. It is the swordsmanship used in front of the dragon horse. What surprised EC most was that Kyu Shui still contained the sword intent of slaying the dragon. It is indeed a famous sword with a considerable length of description in the original book. After being transformed into a Noble Phantasm by EC, this special ability will be added. Deal 10 times the damage to dragon creatures. Seeing this line of words, a cute figure appeared in EC's mind. To say dragon, cute is the most famous. Then, there are other dragon-type devil fruit ability users. In this way, as long as the Kixing sword devours Kushui, it means that Kaido will not be able to rise up in front of Kixi in the future. Thinking of this, EC handed Kyu Shui directly to Kixi. Kishi devour it. Hearing this, Kixi took Kushui and nodded lightly. Afterwards, the 7-star sword in his hand and Kushui tightly stuck together. As the golden light appeared, the autumn water turned into a liquid under the golden light and merged straight into the 7-star sword. Seeing this scene, the 10 members of the swordsman squad floating in the sky immediately showed envy. Although they also have good knives as their personal knives. But who doesn't want to be able to have a more powerful sword that is best for them, therefore? After seeing this scene, the members of the swordsman squad showed envy on their faces. However, no matter how envious they are, the result will not change. When the 7-star sword devoured Kushui under the control of Kixi, the 7-star sword itself not only added a new kendo style, but also added a feature that can deal 10 times the true damage of dragon-type creatures. After the 7-star sword's rays of light dissipated, among the golden Uzumaki, Brook's figure slowly walked out. Life Noble Phantasm +1, Yellow Spring Fruit Noble Phantasm +1, Devil Fruit Curse +1. Yo-hee, thank you for your love. As soon as he came out, Brook bowed to EC and gave a big gift. I saw that there had been some changes in Brook at this time. The hair is still a black explosive head, but in addition to the white skeleton bones, there are also these golden lines looming. It seems that your skeleton has a wonderful improvement. Squinting his eyes slightly, EC instantly sensed Brook's change. 130 Moria, who came, Absalom, who died when he appeared unexpectedly. Brook himself had such a wonderful change after fusing the Noble Phantasm embryo. The external change is that the bones of the body change have looming golden threads. And the internal changes, under the perception of EC, Brook's bones have been greatly improved. Now his bones, said to be steel and iron bones, have no problem at all. In addition, in EC's perception, Brook's skeleton seems to have become the body of a stranger. In this way, Brook has not only greatly strengthened his own defense, but also can practice the armed color Haki. Before, because he was full of bones and no body, he couldn't cultivate the armed color Haki. However, the current skeleton has evolved, as if it has become a human body. In this way, Brook can also practice the armed color Haki. In EC's view, this is really a pleasant surprise. Get up! Looking at Brook, who was still in a salute posture and did not move. EC smiled lightly and waved at Brook. Hearing this, Brook stood up again. Thank you, Your Highness, Thriller Bark Central Castle. Just when EC subdued Brook and the Noble Phantasm turned into a black sword. At this time, in the castle, Lord Moria, there is an intruder. Absalom, the transparent fruit capable, stood below the throne and reported to Moria in a low voice. On the throne of the castle, Moria, the shadow fruit power user, was sitting there listening to Absalom's report. Today's Moria is not the super fat man in the future. Moria, who has just sailed into the Devil's Triangle waters and plans to form a zombie army soon. At this time, she has not lived the decadent life of the future. Naturally, Moria's body is not as fat as she will be. There's an intruder who wants you to report. It seems that the identity of the intruder is not simple. Looking at Absalom, Moria couldn't help but let out a screeching sound. Inside the castle, except Moria and Absalom. On both sides of the throne, there is one person on each side. On the left is Hobak, a talented surgeon whom Moria values very much. Moria wants to form a zombie army, and Hogbark is an indispensable assistant. On the right is a gothic girl floating in the air. P.S. This book is set. Perona has been able to control her body for floating flight, with a pink double ponytail, a crown, and a burgundy umbrella in her hand. Wearing a gothic lowly outfit, she looks like a 13 or 14-year-old girl. This girl is the Princess Mononoke in the original book, Perona. Shon. Fuss. If Moria-sama shoots, maybe there will be many more powerful zombies. After hearing Moria's words, Hogbuck said in his hoarse voice. Hearing this, Moria's eyes couldn't help but flash a trace of greed. A mighty zombie. I can't help it. Very well. For the sake of powerful zombies and shadows. Come with me. 5 9 la, falling down with Moria's words. I saw Moria turned into countless shadow bats and flew out of the castle. Seeing this, Absalom and Hogbark quickly followed. In an instant, Perona was left in the entire castle. Why did it disappear all of a sudden? Perona, who was addicted to playing with the horror doll in her hand, raised her head slightly. With a slightly confused look in his eyes, he looked around and found that all three of Moria were gone. In an instant, Perona woke up with a jolt. Moria-sama, floating in the castle. Perona shouted a few words and found no response, then flew out along the open door. Thriller bark, zombie concentration. At this point, EC was ready to bring everyone back to dawn. As for those zombies, they all fell to the ground when Kixie broke out Conqueror's Haki. So, EC also ignored the so-called shadow-controlled zombies. Let's go! We've got things, and it's time for us to leave. While speaking, EC turned around and prepared to leave. He dared to invade my Moria territory. 55, what's the matter? Now that I, Moria, have come, are you going to run away? If you can't escape, just stay and become my zombie soldiers. 55 with the sound of one after another. The shadow bats began to surround the crowd. In the end, all the shadow bats merged at this moment, and Moria's figure also appeared in everyone's eyes. Moria, who had just appeared, saw that Dawn in the Sky had already floated behind the swordsman squad in midair. The whole person couldn't help but let out a small murmur. Looking at EC's face, Moria always felt as if she had seen it somewhere. Presumptuous. Aside, before EC could speak, Kixie snorted coldly, and the 7-star sword in her hand slashed to the left. Swish! The sword glow came in an instant. In situ, Absalom's invisible figure suddenly appeared. Moria-sama. Say, a terrified Absalom watched the slash close at hand. Just wanted to ask for help, but Kixie Zhanju has already cut in half. Boom! After slashing Absalom in half, it still did not weaken at all on the thriller bark. With a roar, a kilometer-long crack appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Gudong not far away, Hogbuck, who was hidden in the zombie pile, swallowed a mouthful of saliva. With a look of horror, he looked at Absalom, which was divided in two, and the 1,000-meter-long crack. Seeing this, EC moved his finger lightly, and a golden light flashed away from the void. Then, as if it was integrated into something, it rushed into a wave of ripples and disappeared. Transparent fruit +1. EC didn't expect that when he was about to leave, someone came to give the head. Looking at Moria, who was stunned, EC smiled lightly and said, Moria, tell me, how do you want to die? In an instant, a domineering and majestic aura erupted from EC's body. The tyrannical Conqueror's Haki slammed down on Moria. In an instant, Moria's entire face turned extremely red, and her forehead was full of blue veins. The whole person could not help but tremble slightly. Conqueror's Haki. Feeling this tyrannical momentum, Moria's heart suddenly became terrified 10. 131 Perona, damn. Why is he here? At this moment, In this situation, Moria has also recognized EC's face. At this time, no matter how angry Moria was, her body started to tremble. Although Absalom's death made Moria very unwilling and angry. However, now that she is unable to protect herself, Moria has no idea of revenge for him. Oh, don't talk. Seeing Moria's rolling eyes, but she didn't speak, EC's eyes narrowed slightly. The Conqueror's Haki on his body got heavier again. Immediately, the unparalleled coercion attacked Moria's will recklessly. It stands to reason that Moria, as an existence who dares to confront Kaido, cannot be so weak. However, the current Moria is not the same as the previous Moria. After the confrontation with Kaido, all the crew members watched 32 die in front of their eyes. The so-called arrogance and the so-called power were all destroyed by Kaido at that moment. Otherwise, Moria wouldn't have hoped to avenge Kaido by building an army of zombies. From a moment he was defeated by Kaido, Moria's confidence was completely destroyed. Since that time, Moria has been very depressed and hoped to use foreign objects. Then, they have been forming the so-called zombie army, and they have neglected to exercise, which has led to the decline of their current strength. And EC's strength really gave Moria the illusion of facing Kaido again. So, for a moment, Moria couldn't help but feel fear. Boring. Seeing Moria's expression change, EC couldn't help shaking his head. Take back your Conqueror's Haki. Turn around and return to the dawn. I thought something interesting would happen, but I didn't expect that Moria was so timid. Seeing EC leaving, the swordsman team also set up Brook and returned to the dawn in the sky. As for Kixie, he planned to kill Moria. After all, the shadow fruit on his body is still very good. Moria-sama, Moria-sama. Just then a call came. On the dawn, EC was slightly taken aback and looked at Perona, who was flying. Ah, I forgot about her. Touching his chin, EC looked at Perona, who was about the same age as Reiju, who was flying over. The ghost fruit is still very powerful and has a good appearance and figure. 35 before, I just focused on Hei, Dao, Kyu, Shui, and Brook. For a while, I really forgot the existence of Perona. Now, after seeing this Perona delivered to the door, EC is not going to be polite. Originally, I was thinking of asking Kixie to kill Moria to extract the shadow fruit. However, considering Moria's relationship with Perona, EC gave up after thinking about it. Making a gesture to Kixie, EC turned to look at Perona, who was already standing in front of Moria. Yes, as an apology for offending me, I will take this person away. Standing on the bow, EC waved to Perona. Immediately, a bolt of lightning turned into a long whip and tied Perona's waist. With a slight pull, Perona was pulled aboard the Dawn in exclamation. Damn, Perona. Seeing Perona being bound away, Moria was instantly furious. However, before Moria could attack, Kixie, who was floating in the air, turned cold. Dare to offend your highness. The seven-star sword was raised, and a bright light flashed on the sword. At this moment, the surrounding fog seemed to be dispelled by this flash of light. Aurora slash. Clang. The dazzling light is like the sun at this moment, which makes people unable to look directly. The tyrannical coercion caused everyone on the Dawn, except EC, to take a few steps backwards. Scoff. Air is torn. An extremely dazzling, kilometer-long, bright, white, terrifying flying slashed out instantly. Below, Moria's pupils shrank, and the hairs on her body stood on end. The crisis of death is constantly on Moria's mind at this moment. Shadow Warrior. Shoo, for a split second, Moria switched places with herself using her shadow without thinking. Only damn it, the area covered by this slash is so large. Shadow Warrior. Shadow Warrior. Shadow Warrior. Immediately afterwards, one shadow after another kept switching places with Moria. And when Moria passed by Hog Bark took the time to wrap Moria's thighs and didn't let go. Then, Moria had to frantically use Shadow Warrior moves to make a lot of shadows swap places with herself and Hogbuck. Boom! Crack! 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 At the last minute, when Moria and Hogbuck exchange places again, the slash has already fallen with a bang. With a roar, I saw that the part of the inner bay of thriller bark was like a flash of sword light. A third of the part was broken with the main body under the slash of this sword light. The sound of ground fissures continued. One third of the hull that was cut off began to scatter and sink into the sea in the sound of one after another breaking. On the dawn, except for E.C. Perona, who had just been bound up, and everyone else couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. This powerful slash shocked everyone, and even Perona, who was crying just now, was so frightened that her face turned pale. Swoosh as Kixie's figure flew into dawn. EC looked at the chaotic scene below. Turning his head, he took out a chart and handed it to Xiaobin and said, "Okay, the matter here is over. Leave the Devil's Triangle Sea first, and then rely on this chart to return to the kingdom of Helios." Hearing this, Xiao took EC's chart and nodded lightly. Okay then, Xiao jumped off the deck. Immediately afterwards, Dawn began to turn and flew away from the Devil's Triangle Sea. Looking at Perona, who was stunned with fright in front of him, EC spoke to Sugar and Reiju beside him. "During this time, you should be responsible for enlightening her, by the way. Let her get acquainted. Oh, by the way, remember take her to Lina's place and let Lina teach her." Hearing EC's order, Sugar and Reiju grabbed one of Perona's hands. "Okay, Your Highness, absolutely complete the task." "No problem. We'll take care of it," after replying to EC. The two women pulled Perona off the deck. At this time, in the castle of Thrillerbark, looking at the continuously falling area outside the castle. At this moment, Moria and Hogbacko couldn't help but fall into horror and fear. Moria breathed a sigh of relief when the dawn turned and flew away. As for Perona being bound away and Absalom being killed, at this time, Moria had completely lost the idea of revenge. Although he had lost his courage, he was angry, but he did not have the blood he had before. Watching Dawn completely disappear, Moria and Hogbach sat on the ground of the castle. 132 morning bird fruit, Brooke's idea, the first mission of the swordsman squad at this time. On the dawn, EC got a surprise. Looking at the devil fruit with a spiral pattern in his hand, EC couldn't help but smile. "I didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen to me." 35. The devil fruit that is reborn after the death of the capable person will actually be reborn near him. 35, that's right, at this moment. The devil fruit in EC's hands is a reborn devil fruit. Just after arranging the sailing of Perona and the ship, a maid presented the devil fruit. According to the maid's words, this devil fruit was an ordinary fruit 5 minutes ago. However, when the maids were counting the inventory, they witnessed the transformation of this ordinary fruit into a devil fruit. Afterwards, a maid presented the devil fruit, and finally it came to EC's hands. He ate this devil fruit casually, and then again brought in 2 noble phantasm embryos to fuse with himself. Soon, 2 golden rays of light broke away from EC's body and floated in front of EC. Devil fruit +1, devil fruit curse +1. Now, with EC's more and more control over the treasure of the king, now it is possible to directly summon the noble phantasm embryo to leave the treasure of the king to fuse the things outside 22. Therefore, the previous transparent fruit and the current devil fruit. EC did not enter the treasure of the king to operate. Feel free to put that bunch of devil fruit curses into the king's treasure. EC's eyes turned to the devil fruit floating in front of him. Morning bird devil fruit. 35, and still relatively rare, ancient species. 39, should I say, it's a good time. After whispering a few times, EC's eyes turned to Brooke, who was studying with Dylan. Brooke 99, not far away. Brooke, who was learning about the kingdom with Dylan, heard EC's call. Suddenly, his body shook. He nodded apologetically to Dylan and hurriedly came to EC. "Your Highness." Looking at the frame of skeletons in front of him, EC picked up the floating morning bird fruit and threw it to Brooke. "Eat this devil fruit." It can only be said that this should be the choice of fate. I didn't expect that the first devil fruit you encountered after boarding the ship was actually an ancient species. This one is an ancient species, a morning bird fruit. It matches your yellow spring fruit very well. and both represent death. Besides, your swordsmanship is very good. After eating this devil fruit, join the Flying Swordsman Squad. Restore your strength as soon as possible. By the way, you should also take these 2 Haki training manual Noble Phantasms 35 while speaking. EC also took out 2 Noble Phantasms of the Haki training manual from the King's Treasure. In this regard, Brooke did not refuse and quickly took over the 3 things that EC gave. Thank you, Your Highness, for the gift. Just now, Dylan also introduced some things related to Noble Phantasm and Devil Fruit to Brooke. Therefore, Brooke still understands about being able to eat multiple Devil Fruit Noble Phantasms. However, it was one thing to be shocked after hearing it at the time. Now, the horror of affirming this in person is another matter. Brooke himself did not expect that he had not made any contribution after joining, and he would have such a generous reward now. All of a sudden, Brooke became more and more loyal to EC in his heart. Afterwards, Brooke carefully put away 2 Noble Phantasms of the Haki training manual. Immediately afterwards, he ate all the devil fruits of the Death Bird Devil Fruit one by one. Click as soon as he ate it, he saw a pair of huge bone wings growing out of Brooke's back skeleton. Gently flapping the bone wings, Brooke's skeleton body began to slowly vacate. After a little familiarity, Brooke put away his bone wings and landed in front of EC again. A sergeant knelt down directly in front of EC. Thank you for your kindness, His Royal Highness. Brooke will never give up. 35 after speaking, Brooke raised his skull and looked at EC. Your Highness, Looking at Brooke's appearance, EC still didn't know what he was thinking. With a wave, EC interrupted directly. You want to go to Twin Points, right? Okay, I'm sure. 35 hearing this, Brooke kowtowed again. His voice choked. Thank you, Your Highness. EC smiled lightly and said, Don't thank you so early. You just ate this devil fruit, so you need to get acquainted with it before you set off. 99. Also, this time it's not just for you to go back and watch Laboon. This time, it's a trial mission for you and the swordsman team. Listening to EC's words, the 10 members of the originally quiet Jinhao team also raised their heads. Not only that, even Monet, Dylan, and others who were chatting on the deck were also curious. I said just now, your swordsmanship plus this devil fruit. You are already a member of the swordsman team. This time out to sea is a collective trial mission for your swordsman squad. 99. There are not many goals for the trial mission, only 2. 39. The first one, a squad, can't be without a leader. So this time, after you go out to sea, when you return, let me know which of the 11 of you will become the squad leader. Remember, the team captain is not a coping position and must convince the rest of the team. Second, your strength is not bad, and even everyone eats flying bird fruits. In other words, your mobility and air combat capabilities are very powerful. This time, at the time of returning to the sea, at 320, there must be a devil fruit as the result. As for the time, I'll give you half a year. The first half of the Grand Line, with the strength and air superiority of 11 of you. 9. Basically, there is no danger. It's just that devil fruits are hard to find, so I'll give you half a year. Remember, it's a devil fruit, not a devil fruit person. You have to let me see your value, and only in this way can I get my reuse. 99 hearing this, Brooke raised his head and said in unison with the 10 members of the swordsman squad who raised their feet and stepped forward collectively. I wait. I will live up to your highness's order. Hearing their responses, EC nodded lightly. Without saying anything, he directly waved at them. In this regard, Brooke got up and gathered with the 10 members of the swordsman team and began to discuss the trial mission this time. On this side, EC stretched his waist. He rested his head on Monet's thigh, squinting comfortably and enjoying Monet's temple massage. Speaking of which, this trial mission is not considered a whim. The previous Apocalypse team also had a trial mission, that is, the Operation Fruit. However, it was not said publicly at the time, and this time, it was the public speaking about the trial mission. 133. Return to Helios Kingdom. Encounter Marine Gion warship on the way. Halia, no one can resist Peronisuma's negative ghost. Bio on the dawn. Perona, holding a small wine-red umbrella, flew on the deck and cast a negative ghost on everyone below. I saw that the translucent ghosts kept galloping away towards the people on the boat, passing through one person after another. In just a short time, the whole ship is except EC and Kixi and Perona himself. All combat members fell into a persistent slump. I'm just a bug. Why am I still wasting rice alive? Yesterday was a waste of time, doing nothing like committing theft. 35? I'm really a waste. I can't do anything well. I no longer have the confidence to live. If there is an afterlife, I just want to be a shell. It's really bad. If there is a hole, I must get into it. Being born in this world is really ashamed of everyone. The sword in my hand has become dull, and my life is meaningless. My existence is not as good as a salted fish, and I don't even bother to move. When I turn over, it's really bad. I'm so useless. I just want to be trampled by stray dogs. Come on, a stray dog, come trample me. On the bow of the Dawn, EC and Kixi couldn't help twitching as they looked at the extremely depressed crowd on their knees. Unexpectedly, Perona's negative ghost is so powerful. Even Dylan and the others with Vice Admiral strength knelt down in front of the negative ghost. Sure enough, although their physical strength has improved, their spiritual strength has not improved much. If the Conqueror's Haki is either strong will or strong spiritual power, Perona's negative specter will not work. Of course, if the whole person is extremely depressed like Usopp in the original book, it will certainly not be affected. It's just that not many people can have that kind of person, not to mention whether EC likes it or not. After thinking about it, EC could only helplessly shake his head. Looking at the people who are in a negative mood, EC can only make these people negative by Perona a few times a day. If you can recover in a negative state, it can be regarded as improving your resistance to spiritual power. By that time, even Conqueror's Haki should be able to resist a few blows. It has been more than half a month since he left the Devil's Triangle Sea. During this period, Brook and the 10 members of the Swordsman Squad also drove the subship to the Twin Points. And Perona, after half a month of training by Lena and Robin and others, has now been transformed into a noble phantasm by EC. That said, Perona is now EC's man. In addition, he also joined EC's maid team, becoming the 5th personal maid after Monet, Shatang, Reiju, and Robin. Ha ha ha, Your Highness. What's wrong? I just said that no one can stop my negative ghost in midair. Perona looked at Monet, Dylan, and others who were in a negative state and couldn't help showing a look of pride. Then landed in front of EC, blinked at EC, and said. Hearing this, EC smiled lightly, stretched out his hand, and squeezed Perona's face. Don't get too complacent. You know, your negative ghost is useless to me and Kixi. 95 after hearing EC's words. Perona snorted a few times and replied, that's because you all have Conqueror's Haki. If it weren't for Your Highness, you guys would have such a miraculous ability, it would definitely have been affected. And, as I've heard from Monet and Robin, not many have Conqueror's Haki. So my ghost fruit is still very strong. While speaking, Perona broke away EC's hand and raised her head with a smug expression on her face. That's because you haven't met a real powerhouse. Shaking his head, EC slowly leaned back on the chair beside him. Really strong, even without Conqueror's Haki, has a strong will. Your negative specter is ultimately about changing other people's emotions. A strong-willed person will not be manipulated by this emotion. To say these things now is just groundless, and you certainly won't believe it. However, when you meet a real powerhouse later, you will understand. 35 hearing that. Although Perona still wanted to refute a few words, she finally had to shut her mouth after seeing how EC didn't want to say more. However, in his heart, he is still very confident in his ghost fruit. Perona believes that without the perverted power of Conqueror's Haki, he must be invincible. In this regard, EC also understands Perona's own thoughts. However, EC didn't say much until there was absolutely solid evidence. When the opportunity arises in the future, he will definitely let Perona see it. Brother, I met Marine. This is on the deck where EC, Kixi, and Perona were. Akatsuki's figure came out from the deck. Marine. EC was slightly taken aback when he heard that he had met Marine. However, EC didn't think much about it, and he and Marine didn't have any grudges, plus the strength of himself and Kixi now. EC is no longer worried about Marine. After all, now, with Kixi's fluttering fruit, it can be said that he is completely invincible. If you make yourself unhappy, let Kixi control some islands and throw one at mermaid in Naval headquarters from time to time. If he doesn't repent and continues to offend himself, EC doesn't mind waiting for Vinsmoke's laser cannon to fire a salvo directly at mermaid in Naval headquarters. However, if it really reaches that level, then this sea will fall into the chaos of Uzumaki. And this is not what EC wants to see. If the kingdom of Helios wants to develop, it still needs to be in a relatively stable environment. So, these can only be used as a deterrent. Of course, if the situation is serious, EC doesn't mind flipping the table. After all, the stable period has the development strategy of the flat, good, stable period, and the chaotic period must have the development policy of the chaotic period. While with the sound of ships, the Dawn was intercepted by several Marines' warships. On the bow, EC, Kixi, Perona, and Xiao saw the heroic figure at the bow of Marine's main ship at a glance. Oh, this is the future admiral candidate, Momosaji Gion. EC recognized the figure's identity at a glance. Black hair, a beautiful face, tall and straight peaks, white and slender legs. And with that spider tattoo on the leg, this is the younger version of Gion. Counting the time, she should only be at the rear admiral rank now. However, to be able to lead a small fleet, it can be seen that the relationship between the DPRK and China is a good thing. Just a rear admiral can have a small fleet. You know, the small fleet is the configuration of the normal vice admiral, and now a rear admiral has this configuration. You don't have to guess to know that it must be because of Crane and Sengoku. 134. The deterrence of Kixi, the horror of Gon. I'm Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Gion. According to our lookouts, are you traffickers? At this time, Gion looked at the huge and gorgeous Dawn in front of him, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. Looking at EC's figure on the bow, he asked loudly. Not long ago, lookouts from the Marine fleet discovered Dawn's location. And Gion is also very curious about EC killing Golden Lion Shiki. Moreover, Admiral Sengoku also issued some secret orders. Have Marine talk to EC after meeting EC and secretly confirm EC's position, so they found such an excuse to intercept the Dawn. Why are those people on your deck all kneeling on the ground? Hearing Gion's words, EC's eyes froze slightly. EC couldn't believe that Marine would not know the information about himself, Dawn, and Helios Kingdom. Stopping yourself at this time, there must be other ideas. However, no matter what Marine meant, EC didn't intend to talk too much nonsense with Marine. When I first set out to sea, I would still hunt down some pirates to receive bounties. And by the way, I would inquire about the traces of those with devil fruit abilities. However, not long after that, EC found out that Marine was no longer open to the traces of those who possessed devil fruit abilities. Therefore, since then, EC has not been catching pirates to receive bounties. When encountering pirates who risked 320 to commit themselves, EC directly attacked them. Perhaps since then, Marine has quietly started to pay attention to himself. However, they should never have imagined that their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Now that I meet this Gion, I definitely want to inquire about myself. As for this excuse, in EC's opinion, is extremely lame. Looking at Gion on the Marine's main ship, EC's mind instantly flashed a lot of thoughts and guesses. Kishi, I'll leave it to you. Glancing at Marine again, EC turned and left the bow, returning to the deck chair to lie down. Ahead, Gion was a little anxious after seeing EC leaving directly. No one has ever encountered EC's Dawn before, and now that I have encountered it, of course I want to ask more about it. However, what Gion didn't expect was that EC turned around and left without paying any attention to himself. For a while, Gion couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Dawn is already tall. Even a warship is not as tall as Dawn. After EC left, Gion couldn't see EC at all. Answer my question. Seeing that EC was not there, Gion stepped on the deck and stepped on moonwalk to land on the Dawn. Clang! However, just when Gion stepped on the moonwalk and left the warship, the sound of a sword being drawn rang out, and the hairs on Guyon's body stood on end. A strong sense of deadly threat enveloped Guyon's body, causing Guyon's body to tremble. Swish! A slash that seemed to be a thin line instantly slashed over the Marine fleet. The Ling Lai sword intent, carried by Zhang Jue, made the Marines on the warship tremble. Boom! 10,000 meters away, a roar made Guyon and the many Marines turn around subconsciously. Suddenly, the sound of exclamation sounded one after another, and even Guyon's pupils shrunk into pinholes at this time. I saw that 10,000 meters away, a 1,000-meter-long wave covered the sky and the sun. In front of the waves, a bottomless crack appeared on the land on the seabed at this moment. At that moment, it seemed that the sea area was completely cut open. Countless seawater cannot flow into the position where the seabed is located, no matter how desperately it is surging. For a long time, until the slash completely disappeared and the seawater was refilling that place. This power. He turned to look at Guyon on the bow of the Dawn again. His eyes stared at Kixi holding the 7-star sword. According to the information, there was no such person in the match against the Golden Lion. In other words, this person appeared on the ship afterward. Suddenly, Guyon's eyes trembled suddenly, and a look of horror flashed in his pupils, because Guyon found that Kixi was not actually standing anywhere, but was flying on the bow of the ship as if walking on the ground. In an instant, Guyon had some unbelievable guesses in his heart. What Guyon didn't know, this matter was secretly told by EC to Kixi, because with the wisdom of Marine Staff Crane, it can definitely be judged. With the fluttering fruit as the strategic foundation and the known combat power of EC and Kixi, and the kingdom of Helios behind that, Marine would definitely not issue a bounty to himself. After all, Sengoku and Crane are not stupid, and they will definitely not provoke a powerful kingdom with fluttering fruits. And all of this is a situation that EC silently constructed. The ship of the kingdom of Helios. Not everyone can inspect it. Kixi looked at Guyon, who was in shock. Her tone was very indifferent. And Your Highness, not everyone can see it. This time, I'll spare you in the face of naval headquarters, but next time, it won't be so. The majesty of the kingdom, the dignity of Your Highness. Everything is sacred and inviolable. After speaking, Kixi waved to Xiao. Seeing this, Xiao lightly nodded his head and immediately understood Kixi's meaning. Witnessed by Guyon and many Marines, white clouds began to appear at the bottom of dawn. Soon the entire dawn was carried on the thick white clouds. Then, dawn slowly left the sea under the support of white clouds. It flew directly over the heads of Guyon and many Marines until it disappeared far from the sea. When the dawn disappeared, Guyon regained his senses. Without saying much, Guyon returned to his office in a sprint. Picking up the phone, the worm dialed the phone number of the Warring States period. Blue Naval Headquarters, Marine Ford, Admiral Office. At this time, in the office, in addition to Admiral Warring States, there was also the figure of the staff of Crane. Originally, the two men who were discussing marine affairs were suddenly interrupted by the sound of a phone bug. Seeing this, Warring States directly picked up the phone worm beside him and chose to connect. Masamaxi, this is the Warring States period. On the other side of the phone bug, Guyon said immediately after hearing the words of Sengoku. Sengoku, Admiral, I have just met the Prince of the Kingdom of Helios. 35 in a word, Sengoku, who had been careless, instantly sat up straight. The Crane on the side also heard the voice from the phone. Immediately, he stopped flipping the booklet and chose to listen quietly. 135 Negotiation and Selection of Naval Headquarters. Gon. Have you met the Prince of Helios? How? Are there any injuries? How was the conversation? What was his intention? Hearing Guyon's voice on the phone, Sengoku sat up straight and asked impatiently. Sengoku, Admiral, the situation may not be very optimistic. Hearing Sengoku's question, Guyon sighed softly in Marine's office. Although I met him, the prince was not in the mood to talk to me. After I stopped his boat, he just looked at me and left. 35. I was dealing with another person, but that woman was also very difficult to speak. 35. Also, Sengoku, Admiral, I have made a major discovery this time. Finally, Gion couldn't help showing a serious look on his face. Major discovery. Hearing this, in the Admiral of Headquarters office, Sengoku, Admiral, and Crane's staff invariably looked at each other. Tell me all about your findings. Yes, 99 on the other end of the phone bug, Gion said without any hesitation. First of all, after the observation of the lookout, the prince's subordinates should be engaged in special training. 99. In his suit, his men fell to their knees on the deck, looking depressed and depressed. It's just that I didn't ask anything related. Secondly, on his ship, this time I saw two people who were not in the intelligence. One is suspected to belong to the cadre of the Moria pirates, and the other is a woman I have never seen before. Finally, and my most important discovery, 35, the woman I have never seen before. She is definitely a top swordsman. Her strength can cut open the sea with a single sword, making the sea unable to recover for a long time. According to my estimation, her strength is far greater than mine, and I simply can't use a sword in front of her. I can clearly feel that my body is shaking when I face her. Hearing Gion's words, Sengoku and Tsuru's pupils shrank suddenly. However, Gion's voice didn't stop. Only Gion's voice continued. Of course, the strength aspect is very important, but I have observed that she can stand in the air without the aid of anything. 99 so, I suspect. 99 hearing the last two sentences of Gion, the faces of Sengoku and Tsuru suddenly became solemn. So, you suspect that woman has eaten the fluffy fruit. 35 a low voice came out of Sengoku's mouth. At this moment, the face of the warring states was already extremely solemn. After learning of the Golden Lion's death, Marine initiated all connections and began to search for Fluttershy fruit. However, until now, Marine has not had any news. Although knowing that the sea is huge, it is difficult to find a devil fruit with a name. However, the warring states never thought that the fluttering fruit has now been eaten again. I know all your information. Now, you can continue patrolling the Grand Line and leave the rest to Naval Headquarters. After speaking to the phone bug, warring states hung up the phone. At this moment, the atmosphere in Admiral's office suddenly became solemn. Crane put his crossed hands in front of him, thinking about all the information Marine had collected in his mind. Warring states, it seems that we have underestimated that prince. Before, he was only regarded as the prince of the kingdom who went out to sea to experience the world. I didn't expect that in a short period of time, it has already possessed such a powerful force. The hands crossed in front of him supported his chin, and the crane's face became more and more solemn. Now, that person has grown up, whether it is strength or power. There is the kingdom of Helios behind him. As the only heir to the kingdom, it can be said that everything in the kingdom of Helios belongs to him. According to the information we have investigated, the kingdom of Helios is now undergoing rapid development. In the kingdom, there are people who practice swordsmanship all over the place. Seeing this, he wants to make the whole nation a soldier. Moreover, as the fame of the Helios Kingdom has grown during this period, a large number of pirates also want to land. It's just that all the pirates have been wiped out by the royal army of Helios Kingdom. We don't know how many troops there are, and we don't know whether Helios has any hidden cards. 5 for us. The kingdom of Helios is a misty existence. Speaking of this, the crane couldn't help but paused. Even if the kingdom of Helios behind him is removed, his ship alone cannot be underestimated. 5 asked for flowers. 0, the cloud fruit that can carry such a huge and gorgeous ship in flight. This point, we Marine just confirmed it not long ago. And then, as a prince, but powerful enough to kill Golden Lion Shiki. There is no doubt that the prince's strength has definitely reached the level of yours and Garp. In addition to this, there are several cadres who have reached the level of Vice Admiral combat power, dozens of crew members with 2-color Haki, and more than a dozen devil fruit abilities. 35. In addition, this female great swordsman who has come out now is suspected to have eaten the fluttering fruit. That is to say now, just that one ship can already match the 3 pirate groups of New World. Hearing Crane's analysis, Sengoku couldn't help but take a deep breath. It turns out that without knowing it, it has grown to this point. So, just when Sengoku was about to speak, Crane knocked on the table lightly and interrupted. Warring States, don't be impulsive. 35. Tell me, what name are you going to use to reward them? Hearing this, the Warring States period was slightly startled. Seeing this, the Crane spoke again. You have to think about it. Now that the new world is in chaos, the red-haired Shanks has the ambition to hit the pinnacle of the pirates. Besides, West Blue was chaotic, and a large number of pirates went out to sea and even climbed the upside-down mountain to the Grand Line. Above this chaotic sea, marine strength is a little short. 99. Are you sure you want to provoke such a powerful force for our marine? Even if there is a world government, how much do you think they will contribute? Also, if Guillaume guesses correctly, that female great swordsman is really the fluttering fruit of the master. Can you guarantee that she won't control some islands from time to time and throw them over our heads? Finally, what did they do? Need a reward. Hearing what Crane said in one breath, Sengoku's expression suddenly changed. Thinking about it carefully, I was really too careless just now. The master has had the right for too long, and now, if he disagrees, he will directly offer a reward. With a thought, the Buddha fruit in the body fluctuated slightly, making the whole person of Warring States glow with a ray of light. 136 back to Crown Island. Back to Helios Kingdom as the rays of light appeared, a sense of coolness poured into the head of the Warring States period. As the coolness filled the air, Sengoku's head calmed down in an instant. Animal type, human fruit, phantom beast, and Buddha form. It is a devil fruit eaten by the Warring States period. Eating this devil fruit turns the eater into a giant golden Buddha statue. The attack power is extremely powerful, and it can release a super golden shock wave to attack the enemy. Its power is no less than the shock fruit. In the original book, the Warring States period used shock waves to severely damage the Blackbeard pirates. And this is not the real effect of this great Buddha fruit. Its real effect is to give the eater the power, wisdom, and spirit of a Buddha. Combining a huge body like a Buddha with a smart mind and perfect skills, let yourself become the ultimate person with both mind and body skills. The Warring States period, which has the qualifications of a king, is really even more powerful after obtaining the 320 type of the great Buddha of every one fruit. Truly become the ultimate in strength, wisdom, spirit, and skill that is almost unmatched. It's just that, in the case of the recent official business, the Warring States are already busy and dizzy, and they're busy turning their heads. So, after knowing about EC's situation, I thought about handling it according to the previous rules. However, under the reminder of the Crane, the Warring States period used the ability of the Buddha fruit to completely wake him up. It's so dangerous. I almost made a wrong move. 39. After sobering up, the Warring States period also had lingering fears. In the Warring States period, promotion is already a sure thing, and there is no need for such exhaustion. 35. Seeing the appearance of the Warring States period, Crane nodded lightly. Long before, the Crane discovered the problem of the Warring States period. However, being able to wake up immediately does not seem to be very serious now. Fatigue throws your brain into chaos. 35. Official duties are inexhaustible, and it is necessary to rest at an appropriate time. 35. Power, too, is a chronic poison. If you can't stop in moderation, even if you have the Buddha fruit, you will fall into chaos. Marine's path will be led by you in the future. So, you have to keep yourself awake all the time and make the right judgment every time. Hearing Crane's words, Sengoku also nodded heavily. Saru, you're worried. Afterwards, Sengoku pushed his frog glasses. As for what happened just now, he continued to speak. I was careless just now. I will pay attention to rest in the future. Now let's go back to what happened just now. I also heard your thoughts clearly, so my current thoughts are also the same as yours. He has grown up, and now what he needs to see is to see if he can make a good relationship. However, even if our Marines do nothing, the world government will definitely not give up. Hearing this, he also frowned, and after thinking for a while, he could only sigh helplessly. The attitude of the world government, we can't get involved. However, in these chaotic times, we Marine cannot have one more powerful enemy. Presumably this, the the five elders would definitely want to. Even if the kingdom of Helios is to be dealt with, it'll have to wait until the situation stabilizes. 39. Anyway, it's fine for us Marines to not do anything for the time being. Hearing Crane's words, Sengoku also nodded lightly. If that's the case, then let's do it first. It's just that I can't figure out, no matter what, why it can be so powerful in a short period of time. 35. Even the speed of its power expansion is astonishingly fast. Hearing this, he also shook his head helplessly. She is not clear about this, and without intelligence, she cannot analyze it. On the other side, while Marine was discussing the matter between EC and the Kingdom of Helios. At this time, Dawn has been flying all the way and gradually began to approach the sea area of Helios Kingdom. Your Highness, the number of pirate ships below seems to be a little too dense. On the deck of the Dawn, EC nodded lightly after hearing Robin's words. However, EC didn't answer anything, but kept scanning the vicinity using observation Haki. Under observation Haki's glance, EC's brows could not help frowning. Within the range of EC's observation Haki, a large number of pirate ships are roaming around. However, these pirate ships can only wander in the outer waters of the kingdom, because in EC's perception, there are a large number of kingdom troops patrolling all over the kingdom's inner waters. Observation Haki swept away, EC couldn't help but look relieved. All the soldiers of the Royal Army perceived by EC are brave and fearless, strong and iron-blooded. On the ships of the kingdom, the combined aura of the various soldiers on the ship was incomparably iron-blooded and sharp-edged. Zhao. The Dawn landed and sailed directly from the sea to return home. Touching Zhao's small head, EC said softly. Hearing this, Zhao quickly controlled the Dawn to land on the sea. When the Dawn landed, there were several kingdom ships rushing up all around. See, Your Highness. Welcome Your Highness back home. At the same time, deafening voices rang out from several kingdom ships. The huge and gorgeous Dawn, plus the familiar heroic figure on the bow. The soldiers on the kingdom's ships showed expressions of joy and enthusiasm. The kingdom of Helios entered a stage of rapid development under a series of policies from EC. And all this, the current king Ilua has no intention of concealing it at all. Not only did he not hide it, King Ilo even hyped it up within the kingdom. Besides, after the news that EC killed Golden Lion Shiki came out, the king of Ilo went even further and madly promoted EC's achievements and credits. Then, within a short period of time, EC became the national idol of the whole kingdom. Originally, EC's popularity in the kingdom was already very high. And now, after another hype from King Ilo, EC directly further became a national idol. Everyone, regardless of gender, age, or occupation, madly worship EC in 1.0. And this is the reason why the soldiers on these ships gave EC a feverish look. Above the bow, EC felt the eyes of many soldiers and nodded lightly. Continue with your tasks. Ignore me. The mouth opened and closed slightly, and the sound came into the ears of the soldiers like a light breeze. Seeing EC's gestures, Zhao also controlled the Dawn to move forward. Before the soldiers could react, Dawn left directly with superpower. Along the way, all the kingdom ships that Dawn encountered stopped, and the soldiers on board kept greeting EC as more and more kingdom troops met EC. The news of Dawn and EC's return to the kingdom soon spread to Crown Island. In a short period of time, the entire Crown Island knew that His Royal Highness had returned to China. 137. The father and mother who have not seen for a long time when the Dawn docked at the exclusive port of the Crown Island royal family. EC on the bow instantly saw King Ilo and Queen Eliza, who were already standing on the coast. Zizizi with a flash of lightning. EC's figure disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, EC's figure had already come to the front of King Ilo and Queen Eliza. Father-mother, standing in front of the two, EC's face also showed a happy look. I didn't start with the death of both parents like other Tran migrants. From birth to the present, EC's parents have always been stable and healthy. A year away from home, EC sees his parents again. and EC is also happy from the bottom of his heart. Little EC, come and let me be healthy. You seem to have lost a lot of weight. Queen Eliza stretched out her hand, touched EC's body, and finally pinched EC's face and said softly, "Okay, I just came back. Let him arrange things first and talk slowly after dinner." On the side, King Iloa, the first Vinegar King of the Grand Line, after seeing Queen Eliza do something to EC, 22 couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth slightly and said to Queen Eliza. Hearing this, EC couldn't help but glance at King Ilo. Unexpectedly, after not seeing each other for a year, this Vinegar King is getting more and more sour. And Queen Eliza also knew the character of King Ilo. After hearing his words, she couldn't help but glance at King Ilo. However, Queen Eliza let go of her hands and stretched out her hand to hold King Ilo, which made him look happy again. Little EC, then we'll go back first, and we'll talk slowly in the evening. Your father's right. You should arrange your affairs first. Speaking, Queen Eliza also looked at Kixi, Monet, and others on the bow of the Dawn. The corners of his mouth curled slightly, and he said with a slight smile, "By the way, I know you found those girls yourself. Remember to bring it over at night, and let me be healthy." Hearing this, EC smiled and nodded. Then, King Ilo turned and left with Queen Eliza. Behind the two of them, the accompanying officials and a large number of gatherers also slowly dispersed. Seeing the two figures disappear, EC turned around and returned to the Dawn. At this time, on the deck of the Dawn, the entire ship's people have gathered here. EC looked around slightly, then fell into deep thought. After thinking for a while, EC looked at everyone on the deck again. Dylan, Avery, Mastiff, or... Hearing EC read his name, the four hurriedly stepped forward. Your current strength has reached the standard. When you come back this time, you'll be able to enter the kingdom's army and familiarize yourself with military affairs. Wait a minute. You take those scientists to the scientific research department first, and then you take a break and report to the kingdom army yourself. Next, what you have to do is to follow your respective fathers, learn military knowledge, practice military capabilities, and handle military affairs. Hearing this, Dylan, Avery, Mastiff, and Orton hurriedly said in unison, "Follow His Highness's orders." Nodding lightly, EC waved at the four. Seeing this, the four of them began to organize the scientists who were brought back from West Blue to leave Dawn. As for the others, they all did not move, quietly waiting for EC's arrangement. Everyone knows that many things will change after returning to China this time. And EC really thinks so. EC has had this idea since the Dawn gave birth to the ship's spirit, Shao. In addition, the kingdom is now exposed by a newspaper, and the kingdom needs some responses both inside and outside the kingdom. The four Dylans were sent to the kingdom army for EC. The four of them are the successors of the next four major army commanders that EC values. In addition, the current strength improvement has also fallen into a bottleneck, so EC arranged them directly. When Dylan and the others left, EC's eyes were on the deck again. Looking at the members of the Apocalypse team aside, EC pondered for a while before speaking again. Aldo, Silva, Solabun, Lot Gaiche, Bennett Benoni, Levert, Felina, Damien. 35, as EC's name was pronounced one by one. The members of the Apocalypse team also took a step forward. Looking at the 9 people in front of him, EC nodded lightly. 9 people, all with rear admiral level combat power, plus skilled 2-color Haki. In the sea, it can be regarded as a medium-high combat power. Apocalypse team, in addition to you, there are Adine and Pius who escorted another group of scientists back before. 35, after you disembark, you must turn with Adine and Pius first. You will be the cadres of the Apocalypse Legion in the future. Aldo, appointed as the commander of the Apocalypse Legion. The rest of the Apocalypse members are them. Having said that, EC pointed to the rows of sailors, helmsmen, cooks, navigators, etc., except for the maids. These people, don't look at the Dawn. They're only equivalent to a small minion, but the strength of these people should not be underestimated. Each is an elite soldier selected from the previous Kingdom Army. Then, as EC went out to sea for a year of experience, everyone was able to use the two-color Haki proficiently. As long as they give them another devil fruit, their strength can reach the rear admiral level in minutes. The Apocalypse Legion can give priority to obtaining devil fruits to enhance their strength. 99. That is to say, the Legion of Apocalypse. The real meaning is the Legion of Devil Fruit ability. In the future, the duties of the Apocalypse Legion, in addition to guarding the palace. It's more about guarding the Crown Island, guarding the Kingdom of Helios, and supporting the kingdom's battlefield. So, although your tasks will be much heavier in the future, as the commander of the Legion, you must do a good job in the mission of the Legion and perform the duties of the Legion. 99. Hearing this, Aldo's face flushed, and he excitedly promised EC aloud. Follow His Highness's order. Aldo will never fail His Highness's expectations. Hearing Aldo's words, EC nodded lightly. Immediately afterwards, EC arranged for Lena and other maids to enter the palace court for training again. After these maids come out, they will be assigned to various positions in the palace's waiters. Go out to sea with yourself. EC, who has worked so hard, will not let these people down. Therefore, everyone on the Dawn was directly arranged. After the Legion of Apocalypse and the maids left, EC took the Dawn directly into the treasure of the king. At the port, besides EC, there are only Kixi, Monet, Xiaodong, Reiju, Robin, Perona, and Anne. Taking a few people to the luxury carriage that was already prepared, EC returned to the long-lost palace with a few people. Under the service of the palace maids, EC and everyone washed up and put on new clothes. In the evening, I took a few girls to the dinner party that had already been prepared. One night, EC was telling King Ilo and Queen Eliza about the details of the sailing. P.S. Ahem, many people shouldn't like to watch these trivia and the like. Therefore, the author's bacteria have been brushed by one stroke. 138. The Ever-Changing Kingdom Changes. Part 1. Time passed slowly, and several months had passed since EC returned to the Kingdom of Helios without knowing it. During these months, EC first spent a whole week with Queen Eliza. Then, EC threw himself into the construction of a kingdom. Militarily, the Apocalypse Legion, driven by EC, directly passed the Kingdom Policy Review and officially established the Royal Palace Guard, Apocalypse Legion. Moreover, Aldo was also officially appointed as the commander of the Apocalypse Legion, and the members of his legion were in addition to the original members of the Apocalypse team. The rest are the elite soldiers of the kingdom who previously served as sailors and helmsmen on the Dawn. In addition, when forming the Apocalypse Legion, EC also distributed the devil fruits collected by the kingdom over the year and transformed them into noble phantasms. Perhaps because of the large investment of the kingdom's intelligence department, within this year, the kingdom has only obtained 14 devil fruits. There are ways to obtain devil fruits, such as auctions, treasure maps, trades with other forces, and discoveries on deserted islands. With the strength of a country, only 14 devil fruits were obtained within a year. It can be seen how rare devil fruits are on the sea. This is what the Kingdom of Helios is secretly searching for. After obtaining these 14 devil fruits, EC distributed these fruits to the Apocalypse Legion. Select 14 people, eat devil fruits, and then transform into noble phantasms. As a result, the Apocalypse Legion suddenly had 14 more skilled users of two-color Haki. Not only that, EC also distributed the devil fruit he got from going to sea. Therefore, nowadays, the Apocalypse Legion is apart from Legion Commander Aldo. The rest of the devil fruit abilities are: the original members of the Apocalypse Squad are now the cadres of the Apocalypse Legion. Aiden/Cadre, Giant Duck Fruit. Pius/Cadre, White Goose Fruit. Silva/Cadre, Golden Jade Fruit. Sulaboon/Cadre, Black Tiger Fruit. Lagaish/Cadre, Black Wolf Fruit. Bennett/Cadre, White Wolf Fruit. Benoni/Cadre, Red Wolf Fruit. Leifert/Cadre, Golden Monkey Fruit. Felina/Cadre, Snake Fruit. Damien/Cadre, Golden Python Fruit. And 20 new Devil Fruit abilities. Aaron, Steel Fruit. Andy, Grass Fruit. Benson, Leaf Fruit. Bill, Lion Fruit. Guiley, Tibetan Mastiff Fruit. Zenny, Cloud Elephant Fruit. Jerry, Blood and Blood Fruit. Colin, Gum Fruit. Evan, bump fruit, Garfield, skunk fruit, Kino, goat fruit, George, flamingo fruit, Hank, tiger cat fruit, Henry, ocelot fruit, Lance, dragonfly fruit, Larry, dung beetle fruit, Mark, fly fruit, Mike, poison sasori fruit, Phoebe, cobra fruit, Londa, grizzly bear fruit. The entire Apocalypse Legion has now initially built the prototype of the capable Legion. In addition to the Apocalypse Legion, with the great support of EC, Dylan, Ellie, She-Mastiff, and Orton also successfully entered the 4 major legions. With the tyrannical strength of the 4 men and the support of EC, the 4 men directly became the deputy commanders of the 4 major legions. Moreover, it has now officially begun to familiarize itself with military affairs and practical operations. In addition to the above 2 military adjustments, after EC learned about the situation in the kingdom, once again instructed the Ministry of Military Affairs to start expanding the number of soldiers in the 4 major legions. After learning about the population of the kingdom, EC found that there were unexpected surprises. When EC went to sea, King Ilo had already started a policy of accepting refugees abroad. Now, with the continuous acceptance of new populations, the total population of the kingdom now has reached about 98 million. Therefore, after hearing the situation, EC directly chose to expand his troops. As for whether there will be risks, it is definitely not, because EC has set up separate entrances and exits of the king's treasure in various parts of the kingdom. Under the arrangement of EC, the whole kingdom is undergoing the transformation of noble phantasm of life vigorously. The royal family, the army, the officials, the people, all of them are constantly entering the king's treasure under the organization for the transformation of the noble phantasm of life. After being transformed into a noble phantasm of life, whether it is an agent, a spy, or other malicious people, at the moment of transformation, everything started to be dominated by EC in my heart, will not betray, sublime absolute loyalty, so that EC does not have to worry about the risk of the problem. Therefore now, the people of the kingdom who have been transformed into noble phantasms of life already have 2 noble phantasms of the Haki training manual. With the existence of the printing press, the noble phantasm of the Haki training manual can be described as wholesale, and it is distributed to the public in large numbers. As for the entrances and exits of the king's treasures all over the kingdom, EC racked his brains to figure out a method. All the entrances and exits of the king's treasure are a closed, super large golden space. This is specially set up by EC. This space can not only be transformed into a space for the noble phantasm of life, it can also exist as a portal, and with this space, all parts of the kingdom can provide support at any time. The entire kingdom of Helios, except for the military changes. On internal construction, in order to make the kingdom prosperous after the founding of the country. Therefore, some characteristic buildings are needed in the kingdom to attract the attention of foreigners. Not only that, with the iconic buildings, the people in the kingdom also have places to play. Nowadays, the interior of the kingdom is constantly cultivating and cultivating. The cycle of cultivation, learning has always been repeated, and it still has an impact on the psychology of the people of the kingdom. Therefore, in order to be able to carry out better psychological construction for the good people of the kingdom, with a wave of his hand, EC directly started construction of places for leisure, play, and relaxation in various parts of the kingdom. Money, don't worry, the gold of Sky Island is where EC's confidence lies. Just scratching the gold base of the golden clock is a lot of money. Therefore, for the internal construction, EC directly waved his hand and carried out a big mess. National trains, training and learning dojo, Jinhao Arena, Samurai Arena, Hanging Garden, Playground, Lover's Avenue, Starry Sky Pyramid, Floating Opera House, Passion Flower Street, exciting casino building. This series of buildings planned by EC in combination with the culture of the pirate world of the previous life and the present world has now started construction. In addition to the first time, a series of buildings related to cultivation, such as schools, colleges, and libraries, are also constantly being improved and expanded. EC has not forgotten from beginning to end. The combination of work and rest is the truth. 139 Kingdom changes with each passing day. Part 2. In addition to military and internal construction changes. In terms of diplomacy, trade, and the kingdom's seaside security, EC also has corresponding actions. The first is foreign trade. Now the fame of the kingdom has begun to spread gradually. Coupled with the combat power that he possesses as a prince, the name of the kingdom has gradually entered the eyes of some forces. The kingdom is backed by the Calm Belt and has a large number of unique Calm Belt resources, minerals, organisms, plants, marine fish, and other unique Calm Belt resources. These resources, except the Calm Belt, other sea areas do not have such resources at all. The Calm Belt is also a terrifying place for most countries and forces. Therefore, after learning that all the specialties of Helios Kingdom come from Calm Belt, many major forces, organizations, and characters who are interested in Calm Belt will send people to buy it. In this regard, EC waved his hand and established several economic ports and trade areas directly in the coastal ports. All external transactions are carried out in these places. Not only that, EC considers that there will be many people who want to know the situation inside the Kingdom of Helios. Therefore, a special tour group within the kingdom was specially set up, and the purpose was to let some interested people go sightseeing under the leadership of the soldiers of the kingdom. There's a saying that blocking is worse than sparseness. If the kingdom remains mysterious, more spies will infiltrate. Of course, with the existence of King's Treasure that can transform 320 life treasures, these spies basically come and go. However, EC's purpose is not just to deal with these spies. For the development of the kingdom, what is needed is population, what is needed is labor, and what is needed is productivity. Therefore, with the tour group within the kingdom as the carrier, it can not only collect ticket money, but also publicize the happy life inside the kingdom through the mouths of these people. Just recently implemented this policy. The most people in the tour group are journalists from all over the world and the peripheral personnel of some forces. After the various forces discovered that all the spies had gone to pieces, all the forces basically used the tourist group to investigate the interior of the kingdom honestly. In the past few months, there have been some reports of the rapid changes in the kingdom from the news around the world. In this regard, during this period of time, the kingdom also increased a little population again. All new people who join the kingdom will be taken to be transformed into noble phantasms of life as soon as possible to ensure their loyalty. Then there will be a series of arrangements such as ID cards, new population benefits in the kingdom, and population subsidies in the kingdom. Food, clothing, housing, and wealth are basically all in place, and all of this, except for the transformation of the noble phantasm of life, has been presented in the news and newspapers. Therefore, with the passage of time, it may only take some time for the beauty of the kingdom to spread throughout the sea. In domestic and foreign trade, the above changes are still great. In terms of diplomacy, EC only implements one policy: to communicate with each other. The kingdom's own force is enough to deter the outside world, but the kingdom's territorial expansion cannot be acted for the time being. Therefore, EC directly implemented the policy of exchanging possessions. Although the sea area where the Kingdom of Helios is located is remote. However, after going deep inside the Grand Line, you will still encounter various island countries and islands. Therefore, in addition to other forces coming to the kingdom for trade, the kingdom also regularly sends kingdom trade ships for voyages. Trade with the countries of the Grand Line to make all kinds of goods in the kingdom colorful. In addition to diplomatic trade, the next step is the kingdom's seaside security. For the safety of the kingdom itself, EC can be said to be very important. Even kingdom security is more important than kingdom development in EC's heart. Precautions for the security of the kingdom. Inside, EC formed the Apocalypse Army, expanded the Kingdom Army, and implemented the National Cultivation Policy. Outside, EC fed the ton fruit to Crown Island and turned it into a strange noble phantasm. Let Kixie use her fluttering fruit ability to control the island of Calm Belt to be swallowed by Crown Island. making Crown Island bigger and harder to synthesize strange metal ore. In addition, EC himself also went deep into the deep sea to capture a large number of supergiant Poseidons and transform them into life treasures. And these Poseidon species are distributed in various places in the sea area where Helios Kingdom is located, as the first line of defense, Kba, to protect the kingdom. In just a few months, Crown Island has grown several times in size. However, these changes are all changes in the area where the Calm Belt is located. And, along with a large number of supergiant Poseidons, EC was transformed into noble phantasms of life. The seaside area of the kingdom was also planned by EC as a safe route. Outside of these safe routes, there are plenty of supergiant Poseidons. With the exception of kingdom ships, any ships sailing outside the safe route will be attacked by the supergiant Poseidon class. Combining the inside and outside like this, the security of the kingdom has been greatly guaranteed. The entire kingdom of Helios continued to develop, build, and become stronger in this safe atmosphere. The kingdom changes with each passing day, in addition to changes in internal and external construction and security. To say that the biggest change is the satellite, mobile phone, data, signal, and other things that EC ordered to study before going to sea. After the reorganization of the Scientific Research Department, a large number of scientists are grouped according to their specialties under the arrangement of EC. After some previous theories and some experimental contents, the first generation of mobile phones was invented soon. However, the first generation of mobile phones can only be used on Crown Island, because these scientists have not made major breakthroughs in signal range and data transmission. Therefore, because of the limitation of the transmission range, it can only rely on the signal tower for transmission. However, the pirate world is full of seas, and the magnetic field is messy. Just building signal towers is not enough. Therefore, after a little experimentation with the first generation of mobile phones, EC asked the Scientific Research Department to conduct research again, strive to research signal satellites and data satellites, and also try to launch them into outer space. According to EC's own plan, as long as the signal satellites and data satellites are all normal. Then, after turning these two satellites into noble phantasms, he will definitely be able to break through the limitations of the magnetic field chaos. At that time, as long as the signal range can cover the entire pirate world, the unique specialty of mobile phones will become a huge profit industry in the kingdom. Some people may say that things like mobile phones are not very valuable. This is undeniably so. According to EC's plan, the mobile phone must be sold at a low price, and the more people in the world use it, the better. First, let the people in the pirate world adapt and get used to using mobile phones to talk. After everyone is used to it, the next big profits will come. Various apps and various charging items, EC will gradually update the mobile phone content. By then, these people who use the mobile phones will definitely spend money to buy them. In the past life, a mobile phone can travel all over the world. So in this life, EC wants to do it too. EC wants to make it impossible for everyone in the whole sea to leave the mobile phone. 140, the swordsman squad arrives at Twin Points. Brooke and Laboon are reunited on the other hand, just when EC returned to the kingdom of Helios and continued to build the kingdom. The swordsman team that left the Dawn from the Devil's Triangle Sea also came all the way to the sea area where Upside Down Mountain, Twin Points, is located. Since leaving the Dawn in the Devil's Triangle Sea, the 11 members of the swordsman squad have been sailing back from the Grand Line all the way. During this period, the members of the swordsman squad compete all the way to become a captain. Whether it's a competition for intelligence gathering ability, a competition for the number of pirates killed, or a competition, swordsmanship in short, during the period of the Grand Line, there is constant competition within the swordsman team. Among them, Brooke, who has rejuvenated his fighting spirit, has gradually gained the upper hand from the weakest at the beginning. Because he has been decadent for decades, he has not practiced swordsmanship well, and he has not developed the ability of devil fruit properly. At the beginning of Brooke, whether it was the Calm Alsace or the swordsman squad Sephiroth, Guy Elsa's Griffith, Ignis, Sargeras, Nazarus, Oder 9 of them, Hughes, Thanatos, and Erebus, were able to hang and beat Brooke. However, when Brooke's fighting spirit was re-inspired, with his skeleton physique, he kept recovering and practicing, making Brooke's swordsmanship soaring, and it took him 3 months to return to the realm of swordsmen. Not only that, in order to repay EC's kindness to himself, Brooke has the idea of practicing to death if he can't practice. There's also been great progress in the practice of two-color Haki. Relying on his transformed skeleton body, Brooke's strength returned to its original state in a short period of time. Moreover, after fully recovering, he has made further progress, breaking through to the realm of the swordsman. After that, Brooke defeated the rest of the swordsman squad by relying on his swordsmanship, Huangquan fruit ability, and morning bird fruit ability. In terms of strength, it has been uniformly recognized by the remaining 10 members of the Jinhao squad. Later, it was because of the management experience of the former head of the Kingdom Guard and the former acting captain. Let Brooke be even more handy when managing the internal affairs of the team. Unconsciously, the entire swordsman squad also began to slowly become a situation dominated by Brooke. In the end, before reaching the twin points, the 11 members of the swordsman squad officially established Brooke as the squad leader. Among the 10 members of the original swordsman squad, the calm Alsace became the vice captain, and the rest belonged to the team. Looking at the getting closer and closer to the twin points, on the deck of the ship, Brooke's skeleton eyes began to slowly accumulate tears. In Brooke's memory from the adoption of Laboon until he was raised and then climbed the upside-down mountain together and finally left Laboon here. Scene by scene, one by one, it seems to be played again in front of the eyes at this moment. Behind Brooke, the rest of the swordsman squad were sitting, standing, or leaning on the railing. Everyone seemed to be able to feel Brooke's mood at the moment. Invariably, the remaining 10 members of the swordsman squad were silently watching Brooke's back at this moment. Laboon, on the bow deck, I don't know when, Brooke has an extra violin in his hand. The bow rested on the strings and pulled gently with Brooke. One after another piano sound came out slowly. The sound of the piano spread farther and farther as Brooke pulled. Carrying by the light wind, it spread all over the ship to the nearby waters and even to the lighthouse. At this time, in the lighthouse of Twin Points, Crocus, who was cooking, couldn't help but froze for a moment when he heard the melodious sound of the piano. Who plays? Here. With a whisper, Crocus put down the kitchen utensils in his hand, turned off the flame, and turned around and walked out of the lighthouse. Standing on a boulder, Crocus looked into the distance. Soon he found the retrograde ship and looked at the familiar figure on the bow. Crocus froze for a moment. The figure is very familiar, and the explosive hair is also very familiar. But the skeleton-like body and head made Crocus not dare to confirm it for a while. The sound of the piano is constant, and the sound of the piano is faint. As the sound of the piano continued to sound, everyone who heard it seemed to be able to feel the sadness carried in the sound of the piano. The sound of the piano is sad. The sadness contained in it is passing away in the process. Those things that are related to time and time are silent in silence. The sound is progressive. At this moment, loneliness seems to be rustling. The violin sounds that contain sentimental feelings seem to show a faint picture in front of everyone's eyes. 4 flowers 0 in the thick fog. A ship was looming in the thick fog. An indistinct figure stood on the looming ship and looked out sadly. The figure's mouth opened and closed slightly, as if it was saying something. Tick-tick the piano sounded, but a drop of tears fell from Brooke's eyes. Dropping on the deck, the sound of water droplets falling is so clear. While in the endless sea, in the bottomless sea, suddenly, a voice with pain, surprise, and expectation sounded quietly. The sea began to swell, and the waves began to condense. As the sound approached, gradually, it seemed to be combined with the sound of the piano. Quick, hold the boat steady. After feeling the rush of the waves, Alsace didn't even bother to appreciate the sound of Brooke's piano. The others who quickly commanded the Jinhao team began to stabilize the ship. Laboon's voice, are they really back? At the lighthouse, Crocus also heard Laboon's cry. His eyes looked at Brooke, who was still immersed in playing the piano. Crocus couldn't help but be surprised. You know, he was on Roger's boat. After getting on the boat, Crocus sailed around with Roger. Everywhere he went, Crocus would look for traces of the Rumba pirates. However, even though the Roger pirates had reached the final island, Raftel, and sailed around the Grand Line, Crocus never found the Rumba pirates. Even Crocus once thought that the Lombard pirates were either destroyed by the group or they abandoned Laboon and disbanded. However, Laboon didn't listen to Crocus's words at all and insisted on breaking through the red soil continent and wanted to go to West Blue to find the Rumba pirates. And this also makes Laboon have many scars on his head. The red soil continent is not something that an island whale can smash away. Crocus knew this, too, so he was heavily sedated. Whenever Laboon slammed into the red soil continent, Crocus would enter Laboon's body and inject him with a large amount of sedative 10. 141. The Return of the Swordsman Squad. The Laboon brought back you. The whale song was melodious, and its ups and downs were completely integrated with Brooks' piano sound. The two seemed to be interspersed with this song. Boom. Whoa, whoa, whoa in the middle of ships and twin points. With a dull sound, a huge whale burst out of the water in the central area. The waves burst, the waves rolled. When the last violin sound fell, the whale Laboon's big head stretched straight out of the sea. In Laboon's eyes, it was as if there was no one else, and there was just a reflection of Brooke. Laboon at the bow. Brooke looked at Laboon's crisscrossing scars, tears welling up in his eyes. Ew. Hearing Brooke's voice again, Laboon was obviously overjoyed. Looking at Brooke's figure, Laboon kept chirping one after another. Hey, March 20th, Laboon come back first. Let them dock first. The waves you made are too big at twin points. Crocus looked at the ships, and Laboon parked in the distance and couldn't help shouting loudly. After all, Laboon's body is unusually large, and the surrounding seawater will generate huge waves even because of Laboon's small actions. And the ships of the Swordsman Squad are also constantly ups and downs in the surrounding waves. However, when Brooks saw Laboon, he fell into the same joy as Laboon, completely unaware of the impact of the waves on the boat. And now, after hearing Crocus's cry, Brooks suddenly woke up. Yes, yes, yes. Hurry up, dock first. Why don't you remind me? 35 hearing this, Sargeras, a member of the Swordsman Squad, rolled his eyes involuntarily. It's not that you were so happy, so we didn't disturb you in this big whale. Hearing this, Brooks' white skeleton's eyes suddenly turned red. An extremely moved look appeared on the face of the skeleton. Alsace looked at Brooks' appearance and reached out and patted his bony shoulder. It's all a team. It doesn't need to be like this. Besides, you are our captain. It's very bad to cry. Hearing this, Brooke quickly wiped his eyes. However, although the tears were wiped away, the rosy eyes still existed. Following the actions of the Swordsman Squad, the ship quickly docked beside the twin points, and this as Crocus walked over slowly. Soon, during the conversation, Brooke also learned what happened after the Rumba pirates left. Brooke also told Crocus and Laboon about the Rumba pirates. In this way, time passed quietly with their respective stories. Grand Line, Kingdom of Helios, inside the royal palace. On this day, EC is enjoying Monet and Robin's whole body. Under the sunlight, EC looked lazy. Tread ta-ta-tau. Unfortunately, the affairs of the kingdom can never be finished. No, Reiju's figure came to the palace again with the sound of footsteps. Your Highness, bowing slightly to EC, Reiju called out softly. Hearing this, EC opened his eyes involuntarily, looked at the document in Reiju's hand, and sighed. What's the matter, tell me? Yes. Hearing EC's words, Reiju took 2 steps forward and started to open the folder in his hand. His Royal Highness, the backup grain warehouse has been built, most of which are built in the military area, and the others are distributed in other areas. 5. All the spare grain warehouses add up to 100, and each spare grain warehouse can store 100 tons of grain. The 2 ministers of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Commerce want me to ask His Royal Highness whether these backup grain warehouses are mainly self-production or trading. EC touched his chin and said directly, "Of course it's about trading. How much can we produce by ourselves? Go on, let the people from the Ministry of Commerce buy those high-quality grains, and then store them all in the backup grain warehouse. In addition, Let the Ministry of Agriculture and the scientists of the Ministry of Scientific Research Agricultural Group develop new types of seeds as soon as possible, and the experimental base will be placed in the calm belt. 5 following EC's orders, Reiju hurriedly filled this document with what EC said. His Royal Highness. The next thing is about the update of military weapons that His Highness said before. After writing, Reiju turned to the next page and started talking about the second thing. Hearing this, EC pondered for a while and said, "First of all, this matter is handed over to the Scientific Research Department Ammunition Team for research and development. Start with the update of today's guns and replace them with automatic pistols, rifles, machine guns. Then there are large ammunitions such as rockets and missiles. And finally, there are things about nuclear bombs and the final vision of the starry sky. For these things, I have since sorted out a concept document. That concept paper can be used as a reference, and you can bring it to them by the way." Hearing this, Reiju recorded it again and nodded in response. Next, as Reiju kept flipping through the files, EC also gave some answers from time to time. Nowadays, many things in the kingdom are controlled by EC. King Ilo decided to delegate power long after he discovered EC's talents. Therefore, during EC's return to the country, King Ilo and Queen Eliza had spent their entire world together. All government affairs are handed over to EC to handle. And EC also fine-tuned things like government affairs. Some unimportant things can be handled by each department, but they will be registered after they are processed, and EC will review them every week. Some of the more important ones are directly reported to EC, who will make up their minds to deal with them. So, in this way, EC has to deal with the government affairs less than half all of a sudden. Every day, Reiju, Monet, and Robin take turns to sort out the more important government affairs. Collect those government affairs into a folder, and then let EC review them together. And today, it was Reiju's turn. After today's government affairs were done, EC squinted his eyes again to rest. I saw that Sugar dashed into the palace. His Royal Highness Brooke and the others are back, and they also brought back a super big whale. Behind Sugar, Perona's figure slowly floated in. Hail, hail, 1.0 hail. That whale is really big. It's like an island. Hearing the words of the two women, EC was also slightly taken aback. Then, with a slight turn in his mind, he knew what that big whale was. Unexpectedly, Brooke actually brought Laboon back. With a slight smile, EC is no longer interested in continuing the massage. Getting up, EC walked out of the palace with the 4 daughters. Soon, after finding Xiao under her control, the smaller Dawn, carrying EC and others, landed on the seashore of the kingdom. Looking at the boats docked by the sea and the whales rolling in the far sea, EC couldn't help but chuckle. Your timing is just right. It's just half a year now. On the boat, after seeing EC's figure, the Jinhao team spread their wings and flew. When EC's words fell, Brooke took the swordsman team to a short distance in front of EC. "I've seen your highness. 35-142, the current situation of the kingdom. Not disgraceful to the mission. I have completed his highness's trial task." Brooke stood in front of the 10 members of the swordsman squad, holding a tray in his hand. On the tray, 5 devil fruits were placed there. EC did not speak when he heard the words, but looked around at the swordsman team and Laboon, the island whale in the distance. "Well done. It seems that you have completed the 2 trial tasks, and there is an additional surprise. Tell me briefly about the situation." Listening to EC's words, Brooke stepped forward and bowed to EC and said, "In this trial, a total of 5 devil fruits were obtained, most of which were loot from pirates. 35, the 5 devil fruits are talking fruit, chain fruit, nitro fruit, and hypnosis fruit. Besides, after meeting Laboon, Laboon also wanted to join the kingdom of Helios because of his personal reasons. Now, there are 11 people in the Fakian Jinhao squad. The subordinates are elected as the captain, Alsace is the vice captain, and the rest are team members. The above is the current situation of the Flying Swordsman squad." 35 hearing this, EC nodded lightly, stretched out his hand, and collected 5 devil fruits into the king's treasure. Then, he spoke to Brooke and the others. You did a good job. Then you can rest for a while. After that, I will go to sea again, and you will be the accompanying guards. Also, Laboon will leave it to you to deal with it. I have already instructed the Poseidon species in the nearby waters, and Laboon doesn't have to worry about being attacked by the Poseidon species. Reaching out and patted Brooks' skull on the shoulder, he nodded slightly to the 10 members of the swordsman squad, and EC turned and left here. With the return of the swordsman squad, it also means that half a year has passed since EC returned to the kingdom of Helios. In half a year, the entire kingdom has undergone earth-shaking changes. The Apocalypse Legion, the expansion of the Royal Army, the transformation of the Crown Island, the construction of special buildings, the transformation of the people, the implementation of various policies. Back at the palace, EC once again threw himself into government affairs. After half a month, standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the bedroom, EC looked at the newborn morning sun and once again had the idea of going out to sea. After opening the property light curtain of King's Treasure, EC took a look at the changes in himself and the kingdom. The King's Treasure Personal Information King. Helios EC Combat Strength. SSS Physical Fitness. SSS Reinforced Iron Bones. High-Speed Self-Healing Abilities. Extreme God Yujin Liu. Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Top 2 Color Haki. Thunder Fruit The King's Treasure Small World. Inner World. Golden Ocean. Cloud Continent. White Cloud Sea. Noble Phantasm Stars. Sea. Land and air animals and plants. Sky Island Shells. Omniscient Tree. Regrowing. Strange Noble Phantasm. Operating Table and Fruit of Surgery. Dawn Shao. Fruit of Clouds and Clouds. Crown Island Seal. Swallowing Fruit. Devouring Repair. Expanding Area. Enhancing Volume. Synthesizing Rare Minerals. Magic Sword Spirit. 7-Star Sword. Kixi. Combat Strength SSS Level. Fluttering Fruit. Transfer Fruit. Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Extreme God Yujian Liu. 700 plus Kendo Style Swordsmanship. Dragon Cutting Sword Intent. 10 times True Injury. Other Noble Phantasms. Devil Fruit Curse X41. Historical Text Steel X17. Pagoda Stone Steel. Golden Bell. 9-layer gold base. Tree Trunk Room. O'Hara History Book. Fruit Noble Phantasm. Large and Small Fruit. This is for the follow-up Shirahoshi. Vampire Fruit. This has been re-extracted and will be useful in the future. Kingdom of Helios Summary. Royal Family Members. Helios Illo, Current King. Eliza, Current Queen. Personal Servant Maid Squad. Monet, Snow Fruit. Sugar, Flower Fruit / Children Fruit / Kenching Fruit. Reiju, Mercury Fruit. Robin, Rain Fruit. Perona, Ghost Fruit. Sword Guardians, Swordsman Squad. Brook / Captain, Huangquan Fruit. Morning Bird Fruit, Swordsmanship. Arthas / Deputy Captain, Snow Sculpture Fruit. Ice Swordsmanship. Sephiroth, Crown Carving Fruit. Dark Swordsmanship. Guy Ultas, Horn Carving Fruit. Wind Swordsmanship. Griffith, Golden Carving Fruit. Gold Swordsmanship. Ignis, Tiger Carving Fruit. Light Swordsmanship. Art. Sargeras, War Eagle Fruit. Fire Swordsmanship. Nazuros, Sea Eagle Fruit. Water Swordsmanship. Odysseus, Mountain Eagle Fruit. Earth Swordsmanship. Thanatos, Snake Carving Fruit. Thunder Swordsmanship. Erebos, Black Carving Fruit. Wood Swordsmanship. Palace Guard Apocalypse Legion. Aldo / Legion Commander, Bone and Bone Fruit. Aiden / Cadre, Giant Duck Fruit. Pius / Cadre, White Goose Fruit. Silva / Cadre, Golden Jade Fruit. Sulaboon / Cadre, Black Tiger Fruit. Law Guy / Cadre, Black Wolf Fruit. Bennett / Cadre, White Wolf Fruit. Benoni / Cadre, Red Wolf Fruit. Levert / Cadre, Golden Monkey Fruit. Felina / Cadre, Snake Fruit. Damien / Cadre, Golden Python Fruit. Aaron, Steel Fruit. Andy, Grass Fruit. Benson, Leaf Fruit. Bill, Lion Fruit. Guiley, Tibetan Mastiff Fruit. Siny, Cloud Elephant Fruit. Jerry, Blood and Blood Fruit. Colin, Gum Fruit. Ivan, Bump Fruit. Garfield, Smelly Fruit. Ferret Fruit. Kino, Goat Fruit. George, Flamingo Fruit. Hank, Tiger Cat Fruit. Henry, Ocelot Fruit. Lance, Dragonfly Fruit. Larry, Dung Beetle Fruit. Mark, Fly Fruit. Mike, Poison Sasori Fruit. Phoebe, Cobra Fruit. Rand, Grizzly Bear Fruit. Kingdom Departments and Department Summary. Military Affairs Department, General Military, Interior Department, Internal Management, Finance Department, Money Circulation. Intelligence Department, Kingdom Internal and External Intelligence, Transparent Fruit, Anthony, Hypnosis Fruit, Bo Root. Scientific Research Department, Scientific Research, Niderfruit Darent, Navigation Department, Navigation Development, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Relations, talking about Fruit Lucas. Ministry of Justice, Prison of Laws and Regulations, Lock Fruit Herbert, Chain Fruit Theodore, Ministry of Supervision, Monitoring Officials and People, Ministry of Medicine, Medical Diagnosis and Treatment, Fruit of Medicine Elena, Fruit of Surgery in, Ministry of Education, Teaching and Educating People, Cultivation, Promotion, Ministry of People's Livelihood, Public Opinion and People's Livelihood, Ministry of Agriculture, Agricultural Production, Dung and Fruit Brand, Ministry of Commerce, Foreign Trade, Ministry of Industry, Military Machinery, Ministry of Palace, Visiting Etiquette, Culture Ministry, Propaganda and Thought, Diet Ministry, Palace Diet, Fungus Fruit Dentist, Ocean Ministry, Monitoring the Ocean, Assisting large, giant, supergiant Poseidon-like life noble phantasms to defend the kingdom. Kingdom Army, Kingdom Eastern Army. Dinuer, East Army Commander. Dylan, East Army Deputy Commander / Lung Fruit. Eastern Army Force, 2 million plus. Kingdom Army, Kingdom Southern Army. Abner, Southern Army Commander. Ellie, Southern Army Deputy Commander / Dongsher Fruit. Southern Army Force, 2 million plus. Kingdom Army, Kingdom Western Army. Hebrew, Western Army Commander. She-Mastiff, Western Army Deputy Commander / Direwolf Fruit. Western Army Force, 2 million plus. Kingdom Army, Kingdom North Army. Austin, North Army Commander. Orton, North Army Deputy Commander / Fear Elephant Fruit. North Army Force, 2 million plus. Kingdom of Helios population, 98 million plus. The ratio of male and female is more balanced. Kingdom of Helios region. Crown Heights, Palace Inner Domain. Office areas of various ministries. Military areas, scientific research areas, living areas, factory areas, trade frontier areas, economic ports, sightseeing groups in the kingdom. Kingdom of Helios architecture. National Training and Learning Dojo, Swordsman Arena, Samurai Arena, Hanging Garden, Playground, Lover's Avenue, Starry Sky Pyramid, Floating Opera House, Passionate Flower Street, Exciting Casino. Simply ignoring the information in the light curtain, EC also discovered that the kingdom has now entered the development stage again. The reform and adjustment of the military and political departments have been completed, and it is now in the running-in period. In this regard, EC thought for a while and decided to sail again tomorrow. The king of Ilo continued to preside over the construction of the kingdom. 143 young fan sails to sea again. East Blue's goal saying it and doing it is EC's resolute style of action. After the decision was made, EC found King Ilo the next day. Later, after a half-day handover, King Ilo also fully understood the current progress of the kingdom's construction. Before, King Ilo was immersed in the two-person world with Queen Eliza, and it could be said that he ignored everything. After half a year, basically all the government affairs of the kingdom were handled by EC alone. Now, when EC is about to go to sea again, King Ilo can only take over the affairs of the kingdom again. EC, you have to grow up as soon as possible, and only under your leadership will the kingdom be able to flourish. It won't work in my hands. I can only keep it as it is. Look, in the past 6 months, the kingdom has been managed by you in an orderly manner and has gradually developed. 35. Otherwise, you should stay in the kingdom. After handing over the affairs of the kingdom, King Ilo patted EC on the shoulder earnestly and said, hearing this, EC squinted at King Ilo, feeling a little speechless in his heart. Unexpectedly, in order to be able to live in a two-person world with Queen Eliza, King Ilo doesn't even want to abide by the rules of the ancestors now. To this, EC could only helplessly answer, Father, I will be back soon. The construction and development of the kingdom still needs your follow-up, Father. After hearing EC's words, King Ilo also knew that he could not keep EC. Sighing lightly, King Ilo could only nod his head. Don't worry, with me following up, nothing will happen. EC heard that he was sure in his heart that his father, Wang Kaijiang, was not capable of expanding his territory, but he was more than enough to keep his success. Moreover, this time, Issei did not plan to take everyone with him. As the kingdom becomes more and more prosperous, some ill-intentioned forces will secretly engage in some small actions. Issei also made arrangements for this. Kixi, this time, Issei didn't plan to take him with him. Kixi's strength is now at the proper admiral level, which can just be used as the kingdom's Dinghai Shenzhen. Moreover, Kixi's fluttering fruit ability can also allow Crown Island to devour more islands as quickly as possible. So this time on the voyage, Issei didn't plan to go out with Kixi. Besides Sugar, Reiju, and Perona, Issei are not going to be taken away. Sugar's ability is just right to turn those intruders into toys, allowing them to do some dirty work for the kingdom. Reiju, on the other hand, arranged to practice and study secretarial affairs. Perona, because of the speciality of its ghost fruit, the ghosts it controls can go up and down the sea and penetrate the walls and the ground, but is the best choice for detecting intruders. Therefore, the three daughters were also left in the kingdom by Issei. This time, Issei only took away Monet and Robin. In addition, the four Dylans and the Apocalypse Legion, Issei also all stayed in the kingdom as the guardian of the kingdom. Of course, because Issei was very cautious. He aimed at the ability of the previous king's treasure to have a separate entrance and exit. Issei also developed the king's treasure transit channel. Issei set up a hidden entrance to the king's treasure in his bedroom. If the kingdom encounters force majeure, no matter where Issei is, he can carry out ultra-long distance transfer through the treasure of the king. Using the king's treasure as a transit point, it was directly sent back to the hidden entrance and exit of the palace. It can be said that this is the real realization of remote transmission. Moreover, because all the people of the kingdom have become noble phantasms of life, Issei can also collect Robin and others into king's treasure before returning. All of them will be brought back to the kingdom together, and they will not be hit by voices. For the safety of the kingdom after this voyage, Issei has done everything he can do now. The next morning, the royal family's exclusive port. At this time, the Dawn has docked here again. Lena is also boarding the deck with a group of maids. As for the swordsman team, they had already flown up. On the pier, Issei, Monet, Robin are saying goodbye to King Ilo and others. King Ilo, Queen Eliza, Kixi, Sugar, Reiju, Perona, Dylan, the Apocalypse Legion cadres, ministers of various ministries, etc., are all here. Okay, father, mother, you should go back. After a while of chatting, Issei waved to the crowd and led Monet and Robin to turn towards the Dawn. Remember to contact me if you have anything. I can come back anytime. As soon as the voice fell, Issei turned into a thunderbolt and came to the Dawn Shunban with a flash of lightning. Seeing this, Monet and Robin also became elemental. A cloud of snowflakes walked side by side with a cloud of rain, and when they reappeared, they had already come to Issei's left and right. Standing on the bow, Issei waved to everyone at the dock. Then, under the control of Shao, Dawn took off under the support of the clouds. Under the watchful eyes of King Ilo and others, Dawn flew directly into the sky towards the direction of Calm Belt. One side the Calm Belt, where the kingdom of Helios is located, is the first half of the Grand Line, and one side is East Blue. In the original book, the Calm Belt, where Nine Snake Island is located, belongs to the first half of the Grand Line on one side and South Blue on the other. And the destination of this voyage, the first one, is East Blue. In East Blue, Issei has a few targets to grab. First of all, it is the barrier fruit. A long time ago, Issei imagined what happened after the Golden Bell combined with the barrier fruit. This goal is mainly to use it to strengthen the guardianship of the kingdom. The second is to burn the fruit. Although there is a saying in the previous life, if you burn the fruit, the dog will not eat it. But that's only because of the poor performance of burning fruit in the original work. Plus, many people can use fire attacks. And this has also led to many people in the previous life dislike burning the fruit. However, in Issei's view, burning the fruit is just because of poor performance. This does not mean that burning fruit is garbage. As an element of nature, it cannot be garbage. Even the crushed swamp fruit has a special purpose, not to mention burning the fruit. Therefore, for EC, who knows the whereabouts of the burning fruit must be obtained. Finally, there is the rubber fruit. In other words, animal type, human fruit, phantom beast, Nika, form, devil fruit. EC is still very interested in this devil fruit that runs through the original book. EC would like to know if this devil fruit really contains Joey Boy's will. As for what to do with Luffy after taking the devil fruit, this thing, EC just wants to say, let it be fate anyway. The plot was messed up by myself, and one more rubber fruit is no big deal. Maybe Luffy would be better off without the rubber fruit after all. In terms of background, Luffy's background is even inferior to EC. The grandfather of the Marine hero, Monkey D. Garp, as the father of the Revolutionary Army leader, Monkey D. Long. There is also the guide on the pirate road, Shanks. TSK, Marine, Revolutionary Army, pirates, all have backgrounds. Now it is just a background of world government. If what a post in a previous life said was true, Luffy's mother, Long's wife, may be a Tion Long person. EC could only sigh as soon as the child came. He was indeed the child of the world, loved by a certain old thief. In addition to the above 3 goals, the other targets are probably the original locations, such as Shimatsuki Village, Kokoyashi Village, etc. Coming to this world, EC still wants to see the locations of these original works in previous lives. Not to mention, some of EC's unfamiliar and familiar characters from the original book are located in those locations. 144 East Blue Lode Town. Annual auction, Dawn flew over Crown Island from the sky and flew straight into the Calm Belt. On the Crown Island, when a huge and gorgeous Dawn flew from the sky, the people of the kingdom also shouted to the Dawn. All the people know that Dawn is EC's exclusive vehicle. Therefore, the people will be excited and happy after seeing the Dawn. On the deck of the Dawn, EC's observation Haki also noticed the cries of the people below. However, EC just smiled lightly and didn't mean to stop. Under Akatsuki's control, Dawn flew directly over Crown Island and finally disappeared into the sky of Calm Belt. This time, there were not many people on the Dawn, except for EC, Monet, Robin, and Xiao, the ship's spirit. The rest were 11 members of the Flying Swordman team. Also, 10 maids and 3 chefs led by Lena. Adding up the entire Dawn, there are no 30 people, only 28 people. Calm Belt. At this time, a gorgeous, huge ship was flying above the sky of the Calm Belt. With the sound of a violin, EC doesn't have to look to know that it's the guy Brook who is playing. As a musician, although his personality has basically recovered to 320 now, he has also become the captain of the swordsman squad. However, his love for music has not changed in the slightest. Not only that, from time to time, Brook would also say to the maid, "Yo hee, this beautiful lady, can you let me appreciate your panties?" Then, what Brook needs to face is 10 blows from 10 maids. Several times the bones have been torn apart, and he is still unrepentant. After EC's electrotherapy, EC found that it should be Brook's own problem. It should be because of those decades of loneliness that Brook occasionally has a brain twitch. Still, when it comes to serious business and most of the day, Brook is pretty normal. So, after discovering this situation, EC ignored it. Anyway, it's just a low-key maid, and after being low-key, you'll get the due price. Therefore, EC thought about it for a while and then ignored it. It's interesting to watch Brook be torn down to bones every now and then. Tata Tao, His Royal Highness. There is news from the intelligence department that the desert island, Kpa, named Sixus has not been found in East Blue yet. With a gentle voice, Monet's figure slowly came to EC's side. Hearing this, EC touched his chin and said, "I haven't found it yet. Continue to intensify your efforts to find it. After all, the burning fruit is in that island." Hearing this, Monet nodded lightly, picked up the phone, took a few steps away, and ordered again. At this time, Robin asked EC curiously while rubbing his back, "His Royal Highness, if you still can't find Sixus Island after going to East Blue, where's your next stop?" 35, hearing Robin's words, Akatsuki, who was sitting on the edge of the boat, eating a lollipop and dangling his legs, also looked over curiously. When EC heard the words, he smiled lightly and said directly, If you still can't find it, then go to Log Town first. After all, Log Town is where Roger, the Pirate King, was executed. 35. Not only that, but One Piece Jewel D. Roger was also born in Log Town. 35. Since the execution of One Piece Roger in Log Town, this town has been called the town of beginning and end. It's a pity not to go to Log Town for a trip to East Blue. Also, there might be a surprise in Log Town, for example, a famous sword or a devil fruit. After speaking, EC paused for a while before continuing to speak. After going to Log Town, let's go to the windmill village of Voyage Kingdom. Maybe I will meet a strong man when I go to Windmill Village this time. Having said that, EC roughly calculated the time in his heart. I found that if I went to Windmill Village during this time, the chances of meeting the red-haired Shanks were quite high. After all, in the plot of the original book, this point in time was when the redhead went to snatch East Blue's rubber fruit. It was also because of this incident that Fuzz Fu was sent to prison for failing the escort mission. In the end, Fuzzy Fog, who didn't want to die like this, escaped from prison and joined the Beast Pirates. Step by step, he also climbed to the position of one of the 6 members of the 100 Beast Pirates. Speaking of which, this trip to East Blue should be very lively. There will be a lot of strong people you may meet: Shanks, Garp Dragon, Koshiro. However, EC is still looking forward to it. After all, fighting against the strong can get a lot of things. Whether it is to test one's own strength or gain combat experience, is a very good harvest. At this time, in the East Blue where EC was heading, a flag with a skull and 3 scratched eyes has sailed in the waters of the East Blue. On the boat, a man in a straw hat is having a banquet with his crew. Besides, a ship belonging to the World Government CP organization is also escorting something. On this ship, every member of the CP was alert to the surrounding waters with dignified faces. And also, inside the tattered kingdom of some remote sea in the East Blue, a man with a serious face in a dark green coat was directing his subordinates to liberate the kingdom. The strong wind blew, making the man's coat rumble. After 7 days, Dawn flew out of comm belt. Feeling the breath of the wind again, everyone on the boat seemed to be alive. Neither the crew nor EC liked the windless environment of comm belt. After all, there is not a trace of flowing air, which also makes people feel very uncomfortable. After flying out of the comm belt, Akitsuki asked on the nearest island. Immediately after confirming his position, he relied on East Blue's map and began to fly towards Log Town. 3 days later, the huge and gorgeous Dawn landed in East Blue's port. As soon as it fell, the entire Log Town became a sensation. Such a luxurious vessel capable of flying has never been seen at East Blue. Even the Marine branch in Log Town was shocked by this sensation. However, after discovering that it was the Dawn that Marine executives were concerned about, the current Log Town Marine branch chief immediately began to organize Marine to maintain order. On board, EC's observation Haki swept away slightly. Suddenly, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Not bad, I just came across the auction. My observation Haki told me that there should be something to be gained from participating in this auction." 145 arrived at East Blue Log Town and participated in the auction. Oops, looks like these people are very excited beside the bow of the Dawn. Robin closed the history book in his hand and looked at the people of Log Town at the port and said softly, "It's a mixed bag, and there are people with all kinds of ideas." Hearing this, EC shook his head and removed all the information that observation Haki felt in his mind. Since his strength has reached the ceiling of this sea area, EC discovered that his own body had no limits if he wanted to rely on his own strength to break. Because EC couldn't see how to continue to break through after reaching the physical limit. This kind of feeling is like the world of cultivating immortals and discovering that there is no road on it at the end of the cultivation path. Therefore, in addition to daily normal practice, EC now spends most of his time developing his knowledge, sex, and arrogance. Speaking of observation Haki, with the development of EC for half a year, gradually, EC found that his observation Haki seemed to have some changes. Previously, EC's observation Haki only had 2 characteristics: super long distance and super large range. However, Now, after half a year of tireless practice by EC found that his observation Haki began to show some signs of things scanning and mental feedback. Specifically, it means even with EC's eyes closed, as long as observation Haki spreads around him. Then, everything that observation Haki glanced around would appear in EC's mind. It was as if he had the perspective of God. It's just that the picture that appears in my mind now is black and white. To synchronize the color of the picture with reality, EC needs to further develop observation Haki. Not only that, but the ability to perceive the emotions of others also appeared when the perspective of God appeared. In response, EC found that his observation Haki began to change. EC has thought, if he develops towards the known observation Haki features, is it possible to develop other special points of observation Haki? TTT, spiritual calling, thought resonance, consciousness transmission, mind reading, perspective, foreseeing the future, covering shielding, memory reading, thought change. Princess Odoheim's natural observation Haki ability, Baroric. Redfield's mind-reading ability, Charlotte Lean's perspective ability. The Dawn stopped at the port of Logtown. EC took Monet and Robin off the boat and went to the auction house that Shinshu had discovered. Brooke took Guy Ulfa's and Nazaro's to the weapon shop that EC mentioned. That is to say, in the original book, Zoro bought the weapon shop of Yukigami and third-generation Ghost in Logtown. As for the rest of the swordsman squad, they were guarding the Dawn under the leadership of Arthas. Walking on the road of Logtown, where EC and the three passed, all the others involuntarily gave way. Not only because of EC's achievements in the newspaper, but also because EC was emitting a faint trace of Conqueror's Haki. As far as East Blue goes, few people can resist Haki. Therefore, wherever EC passed, Haki directly persuaded all these people to leave. Logtown Auction, located in the east of Logtown. When EC arrives with Monet and Robin, the auction has officially started. However, there were many people coming in and out at the gate of the auction hall. After all, not everyone will stay at the auction directly from the beginning to the end. The vast majority of people will leave directly after purchasing their favorite auction items. On the one hand, it can prevent others from being black and black, and on the other hand, there is no need to waste time here. Therefore, the auction venues in the pirate world are basically open. Next, what will be auctioned is a 100 refined stainless steel sword made by a local master in Logtown. This master is a famous swordsmith in Logtown. Even 5 years ago, a good and fast knife was forged, so the master's product is absolutely excellent. Everyone, are you still worried about weapons? Are you still melancholy because you are not strong enough? Then, take this knife, and you won't be troubled by weapons. Nor will you be melancholy because you are not strong enough. The once-in-a-year 100 refined steel sword. What are you still hesitating about? Now start bidding. Starting price, 100,000 Baileys. 4 flowers 0. Every time the price must be increased by not less than 10,000 Baileys. 35 EC walked into the auction with Monet and Robin when he heard a series of words from the auctioneer. Looking up at the 100 refined steel tie Dao on the auction table, EC immediately shook his head. You know, EC is someone who has handled hundreds of weapons anyway. Among them, there are some great knives, good knives, and all kinds of good knives. Now, EC just glanced at the 100 refined stainless steel sword on the auction block. Then I know that this so-called master is still a lover of incomplete beauty. There are not many refinements, but the pattern of each refinement is incomplete. In other words, this master is either a lover of incomplete beauty or is not skilled in craftsmanship. However, EC didn't say much. With Monet and Robin at random, they found a few vacancies and sat down. Under the perception of EC's observation Haki, at the backstage of the auction, the shape of a devil fruit was appearing in EC's mind. Although I don't know what kind of devil fruit it is, EC thinks that there should be a high chance of the barrier fruit. Sure enough, when this 100 refined steel sword was auctioned off, just listen to the next words of the auctioneer. The next auction is the secret treasure of the sea, devil fruit. According to our painstaking investigation at the auction, we found that this devil fruit is a superhuman type barrier fruit. Eat it, you will be able to control the barrier freely and have absolute defense. Everyone, don't hesitate any longer. If you miss it, there will be no more. If you want to break into the Grand Line, eat it. One piece is yours. Then, the starting price of this treasure of the sea is 100 million Bailey. 99. Every time you increase the price, at least 50 million Baileys. When the auctioneer's voice fell, Monet's voice rang. 500 million Baileys. The voice fell, and the others who were still whispering were suddenly shocked. Many of the people present wanted to buy this devil fruit. However, because of Bailey, I was thinking about putting together the money, but it was raised to 500 million Bailey without thinking. Not only that, but even those rich people and businessmen present were shocked. 146. Harvest barrier fruit. Fusion golden bell, looking for prestige. When others in the auction house saw that the bidder was a woman, immediately, the eyes of some pirates showed an evil look. However, some people saw EC beside Monet at a glance. Immediately, the eyes of those who recognized EC's identity flickered in horror. I didn't expect that the prince who killed Golden Lion Shiki would participate in the auction here. At this moment, EC felt the evil eyes from the pirates around him. His eyes narrowed slightly, and suddenly, the senior Conqueror's Haki burst out. Under the precise control of EC, Conqueror's Haki divided into hundreds of forces and shrouded those people. The majesty, domineering, and murderous aura it contained made these people foam at the mouth and pass out. Under EC's deliberate targeting, these people basically became idiots. The mental power was directly defeated by EC. Even if these people woke up, 333 has become a brainless idiot. In the auction venue, at this moment, many people in the venue were silent. Those who can be here are basically not idiots. In addition, EC's awe-inspiring aura pervaded his entire body, which also shocked everyone present. When those people foamed at the mouth and fell to the ground, even the boss and the security guards who were hiding behind the scenes of the auction house couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Hey, don't hurry up and finalize it. In the quiet auction hall, Monet's voice rang again. Hearing this, the auctioneer quickly regained his senses, not even going through the most basic auction process. Hit the auction hammer directly to confirm the auction transaction this time. Immediately, Monet raised the small package given by EC. The incarnation of the snowflakes flew directly to the auction table. Throwing down the 500 million Bailey package in his hand, Monet picked up the barrier fruit and flew back to EC directly. Seeing this, EC has no intention of staying at the auction. With Monet and Robin, the three of them left the gate straight away. When the three figures completely dissipated, everyone in the auction hall slowly calmed down. Looking at the people who fell to the ground, I thought about Monet's ability to turn into snowflakes. There was a shudder in the audience. In their hearts, these people couldn't help but adjust EC's danger level up again. Although it wasn't EC who made trouble first, but in the eyes of others. As long as they're dangerous to themselves, they're dangerous people. And this is also the idea of the vast majority of people in the pirate world. On this side, when EC and the two women returned to Dawn with the barrier fruit, Brooke also brought Guy Ulthas and Nazareth to the weapon shop to acquire the Good Knives Snow Walk and the Knives 3rd Generation Ghost. Not long after the three EC returned to the Dawn, the three of Brooks also returned to the Dawn. His Royal Highness, the Intelligence Department has not yet found the news of Sixus Island. At this moment, Shao emerged from under the deck and said softly. Hearing this, EC touched his chin, glanced at Logtown, and said, "Is there any news from Sixus Island yet? In that case, let's set sail to the Windmill Village. There's nothing to do in Logtown. It's like this once I've been here." Hearing EC's plan, Shao nodded immediately and sank into the deck of Dawn again and went to the navigation room to check the map. By the way, Robin talked to the Intelligence Department. 35, seeing that the Dawn was leaving the port, EC suddenly remembered something and turned his head to look at Robin. Let the people in the Intelligence Department pay attention to the various famous swordsman trails in East Blue, South Blue, and Grand Line. When the time comes, let Kixie send someone to collect the swordsman's swords. Hearing this, Robin nodded lightly. Okay, I'll get in touch now. After that, Robin turned around and left and went to the phone bug breeding room to get the phone bug. Dawn left Lowtown and started sailing towards the location of Goa Kingdom. On the boat, EC transformed the Snow Walk and the third-generation Guiche noble phantasms acquired by Brooke and others into the treasure of the king. Immediately afterwards, EC picked up the barrier fruit and entered directly into the treasure of the king. After transforming the fruit noble phantasm, EC waved his hand, and above the noble phantasm stars, a golden bell with 9 layers of gold at the bottom descended. Looking at the large and tall golden bell in front of him, EC held the barrier fruit in his palm and pressed it straight at the golden bell. I saw that under the control of EC, the corner of the golden bell was concave inward, and the barrier fruit was also put into the groove by EC. Subsequently, the barrier fruit went deeper and deeper into the groove and gradually penetrated into the center of the golden bell. At the same time, the concave corner outside gradually returned to its original state. Under the perception of EC's observation Haki, Ping Zhonghua in the golden bell begins to slowly melt at this moment. It first turned into a liquid, and then the liquid continued to flow everywhere in the golden bell, gradually penetrated into every corner of the golden bell. As the barrier fruit completely disappeared, a faint light appeared on the golden bell. The stronger the shimmer, EC also felt the stronger vitality in the golden bell. A few minutes later, when the gleam disappeared, the golden bell rang slowly at this moment. Boom dong dong within the bell, there is a light voice. EC, on the other hand, is to feel the meaning carried by the sound of the bell. Is there no way to form a zhongling? After understanding the meaning of the golden bell, EC smiled lightly. He stretched out his hand and gently stroked the body of the golden bell. It doesn't matter, I believe, as long as you can get the will of others. It is still very easy to form a zhongling. After that, I will place you at the highest point in the center of the kingdom. In the future, you will ring the golden bell every time you come to bring shelter to the kingdom. As long as the people are willing to believe in you, you will gather the people's willpower .99. In this way, you can form a bell spirit and walk the world. Boom dong dong. Listening to EC's voice, the non-speaking golden bell rings in response to EC. Seeing this, EC gently stroked the golden bell and said, "Let me give you a name. In the future, 1.0, you will call the time. 99, when the time comes, your bell will be the bell of time." While naming the golden bell, EC felt the function of the golden bell all over again. Under the feeling of EC found that he could freely control the transmission range of the bell, and the place where the bell caused was wrapped and protected by the barrier. The bell will automatically ring every hour, and the sound wave made by the bell will be converted into energy and added to the transparent barrier. Feeling these abilities, EC couldn't help but smile. It seems that his intuition is correct. In the future, with this barrier, the kingdom's defense can basically be said to be impeccable. Poseidon-type Guardian, Barrier Defense, Patrol the Kingdom Army, Combat Power of the Apocalypse Army. The kingdom is now, except that the terrain is not as dominant as Awakeni. The rest can be said to be indestructible. 147. The red-haired pirates who stayed in the windmill village of Goa Kingdom after coming out of the treasure of the king. EC was thinking about the windmill village. Counting the time, Shanks should have arrived at Windmill Village at this time. Even the protagonist of the original book, Luffy, might have eaten that rubber fruit. Tread ta-ta-tau. At this moment, a burst of hurried footsteps quickly came to EC's side. His Royal Highness, there are traces of zhuang fruit from the intelligence department. As the footsteps sounded, so did Robin's voice. Oh, hearing this, EC raised his brows slightly. I didn't expect that the fruit that I had been looking for so long had news in East Blue. Your Highness. Seeing EC's appearance, Robin didn't hesitate and said directly, according to the information from the intelligence department, an intelligence officer in East Blue sent back news of a pirate group yesterday. Years, and just now this intelligence officer passed the latest information on that pirate group to the intelligence headquarters. According to the information sent to us by the intelligence headquarters, the 10 pirate groups that were born in that one pirate group have only a dozen or 22 people in total. That intelligence officer happened to be training in an existence. Then the village where the intelligence officer was located was destroyed by this pirate group. The intelligence officer was valued by this pirate group because of his strong physique and joined this pirate group. The full name of the pirates is the Muscle Pirates. Captain Poppy, nicknamed Popeye, he likes to eat spinach, and the devil fruit on his body is the Superman strong fruit. Before he became a pirate, he was a well-known professional sailor at East Blue, with great strength and rich sailing experience, and many merchant ships asked him to be a sailor on their ships. Except for Captain Pope and the intelligence officer who was threatened to board the ship, the other members of the pirate group are some local East Blue gangsters or gangsters. Now, according to the latest information from the intelligence officer, the Muscle Pirates are also sailing towards the Kingdom of Goa. After listening to Robin's words, EC reached out and tapped on the armrest beside him. Suddenly, Zhao's petite and exquisite figure emerged from the deck. "Brother," EC nodded and spoke to Zhao. "You must have heard what Robin said just now, and now go."
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.